Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Geeky Geezers. I'm your host, Agent
That's
Boomer.
all, folks.
This is my co-host, Porky Pig. I'm kidding. I mean, Papa
Right.
Pacelli. Okay. And welcome, everyone. Oh, Netter of Netter's Network is here in the background, too. If you want to say
She
hi, Netter, you
is.
may.
She is. She's away from the computer for the
It's
moment, but
okay.
she is here. Yeah.
Orville Nation's in the house. Welcome. You weren't first, but I'll put you up
Welcome,
anyway. Okay.
PJ. Welcome, PJ. Good people. I'm gonna have to get in touch with you, PJ. We were just talking in the backdrop, and want to know if you have a suggestion for a guest for us for an upcoming Friday on a particular topic. I'll touch base
Yes.
with you on that.
It'll be an exciting Friday stream in the future.
Yep.
Have a great show, my friends. Thank you, Big Al. Curtis Selby, welcome. Unscripted Raid. Yeah, Deleted Scenes was getting a little heated tonight.
Oh, understandably so. But we should instead of getting upset though we should take the wins that we are seeing and don't let the naysayers and the crybabies take the joy away from us.
Exactly.
This
And,
is what I wish we would have seen back in 2019 and 2020.
oh, yeah.
Uh,
Oh, tell me
and
about it. Yeah.
you know anyway, just my 2 cents on it. I don't have that long of a screed on that. But
Real Wade Nation Gaming
hey,
Clips, welcome.
great to see you. I hung out with him for a bit on Saturday. Sorry I had to cut it short on you, my friend. We watched John Carter of Mars. That was a much better movie than I was anticipating.
Well, yeah, keep in mind, I think when I was saying how Disney had some mishaps, I don't think I was trying to say that John Carter was bad. Lone Ranger's another story, but I know that has its fans, so who am I to
We
say
did
anything?
we did talk a little bit about that, but I actually liked and I think I am an outlier in this regard as well. I like the Legend of the Lone Ranger. Is that like from the late '80s?
Yes.
I like that one.
You still starting at 8 p.m.? Yes, we just had we there was a mishap. We fixed it. We're here. You know,
Yeah,
we're
yeah.
always gonna
I
be
had it.
here.
I had it up there wrong, and then I Boomer told me to change it last minute, which meant I had to go in and fix all the tags on my. Those of you that are members, I don't think I even have this listed as one of the perks of membership, but I try to list all of my members in the descriptions for the videos, and I tag you in them as well, so that people can go and follow your channels. So I consider that to be another perk of membership, and it's another way that you should be getting an announcement that we're going live, as well as uh, relying on the YouTube notifications, which may or may not happen. So there you go.
And I will like to say that Mortal Kombat Annihilation was a fantastic sequel that improved upon the original, and Connie agrees. She says yes, it did. I'm joking, of course. I'm kidding. She's not saying that.
Okay.
More. We'll talk. We have some. We'll talk a little about Mortal Kombat later. Mortal Kombat Annihilation, though, that's the not so good old days.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
that's why it's well, it's not going to be in a certain presentation tonight because frankly, that sequel was so bad. Like the
Is that
original
kind
Mortal
of like Highlander 2? The one that the fans all just pretend it
worse.
didn't happen?
Highlander 2 at least has moments like where you have Michael Ironside driving the subway train like through the I don't know. I don't know. It's just it's
And
El,
every scene that Virginia Madsen appears in, I
yes,
mean,
well she's good in anything. I wish she had worked with Lynch more actually. She could have been a great Lynch actress, but she was
I
within
know,
Dune.
I know.
LA is getting bad. Yes. Well, they've not been having a good year so far, have they? And
You know, if you've ever been a teenager, right, or you've just had bad skin, and you start to have like a pimple or a boil start to erupt, and eventually it becomes like a big white head, and it bursts, and all the goo comes out of it. That's basically LA for you. But the thing is, it's been building for years.
Oh, I came in at a happy time.
Yeah, exactly. Hi, Netter.
no,
Yeah, I would have been here sooner, but I was making a surprise for Troy.
Oh, I didn't even know about this surprise. I will be surprised when it is revealed.
no, Darth Vader on Mortal Kombat Annihilation. Probably. I don't remember any Darth. Yeah, Darth.
No.
there's never been a Darth Vader crossover in Mortal Kombat. There was a Darth Vader crossover in Soul Calibur, which was the I want to say like Age of Exploration era fighting game where
A lot more people are talking about the Darth Vader appearance in Fortnite. That's actually been something that a lot of gamers have been talking about lately.
okay, yeah, well, because they can use James Earl Jones's voice. I think they had a different actor voicing him in Soul Calibur 4, like a sound alike or at least close enough.
Give me a second. Let me check my volume. Mr. House Party is saying that my volume is low, and it's looking good on my end.
You sound okay to me, but then again, I'm hearing you through my earphones. But, hello?
Let's see if that helps any. Did that help any?
I think so. Guess we'll find out. What was interesting, though, is in Soul Calibur 4, I could change the dialogue to Japanese, so I got to hear Yoda and Darth Vader speak in...
No, that's just Netter coming
Oh,
to
I
the
see.
studio.
And you could actually have Yoda and Darth Vader speaking Japanese for those scenes, which I appreciated. But anyway. Let's bring the presentation up. Do we have it in here?
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
All right. I just got to press the button. There we go.
Okay. Here we go. We always start out, usually, most nights, not every Sunday, but most Sundays, we start talking about the good old days.
Why do we talk about the good old days? Because most of the news that we have to talk about is bad news days. So we want to remember a time when there were things that we were happier about.
Things they were happier about. My voice isn't as good tonight. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. Thank you. I had the...
I don't know what else I can do. I've got my gains up as high as I possibly can.
Okay.
The only other thing I could do is pull the microphone to me and yell into it. That's about it.
All right. Anyway, but I don't know. You sound okay to me. I guess people in the chat can let us know.
Let me see if maybe Windows is glomming my sound or something like that.
Anyway, this was you were doing the song though, and
Yeah.
I remember I had I'll tell you a little Mortal Kombat memory for myself. Senior year of high school, Mortal Kombat 2 was coming out, and I had a Super Nintendo, and basically the Super Nintendo. Whoa!
Yeah.
What is that? Oh, right.
Okay, now you're really loud.
Yikes.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Terrifying. Hi.
Is that better?
That's
How's
fine.
that?
Actually, it's better. Actually, that's good. This is, I think, your normal stuff. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Anyway, getting back to a boomer memory. Senior high school, Mortal Kombat 2 was coming out. Mortal Kombat 2 had come out. Mortal Kombat 1 had come out on the Super Nintendo a year ago, and it was censored to all get out because Nintendo didn't like the blood and the guts on their home console. So I'm like, well, screw this. I'm not going to buy it then. And it was something the Sega Genesis people could always lord over us Super Nintendo guys. But then Nintendo relented, said, you know what? We need to have this game sell, so do what you want. Just put a rating on the front, a warning on the front. So I pre-ordered Mortal Kombat 2 at the mall. It was at a video store, I believe. Was it a Suncoast Video? It might have been Suncoast Video, yes. And when you pre-ordered it, you got posters and this thing that we used to call a cassette tape that had the Mortal Kombat theme song on it.
Oh, wow.
You know, the Mortal Kombat. And
Yeah.
it was a cassette tape, not a CD, like one of those little B-side ones that only has one song on it. But
Sure.
And I got the game, and I got my posters, and two of the posters, one was the regular Mortal Kombat symbol, like the one you're seeing here.
Right.
The other was of Shao Kahn, the main villain of the game, that looked like something he looks like something out of the Temple of Doom. And the third poster was a cheats poster that showed you how to do all the different moves and fatalities.
Oh, wow. Nice.
But we are talking about Mortal Kombat. And for those of you who do not know, this was a big deal video game back in the, I want to say, 93, 94 is when this came out. Yeah, 93, I think. Or maybe it was 92. And this was a big deal. Street Fighter 2 was, of course, the big fighting game at the time. But then Mortal Kombat comes out, and made by Midway, Bally Midway, the people that made Gauntlet and Paperboy and Marble Madness, and I think Joust was one of theirs as well.
I love Joust.
there's a little in joke with later Mortal Kombat games where you can deliver a friendship instead of a fatality, and if you use the wizard, the evil wizard Shang Tsung, to deliver your friendship, he turns into the character from Joust, and he hops
Oh,
off the
funny.
screen. You know, the little the little ostrich
Yeah, yeah,
guy.
yeah.
Yes. But that's the original Mortal Kombat machine. The big deal about this game was they digitized real actors
Yep.
to be the characters instead of just like drawing things up. That's a look at them.
Yep.
These were all real people they used, and you could also perform many special moves. That's Scorpion versus Sub-Zero. Scorpion's a ninja. Sub-Zero's an assassin. He gets angry if you call him a ninja. He's Lin Kuei. He's not a ninja. Deadliest of enemies. Uh, I think two in the first game they're really villains too. But anyway, I think maybe they have Sub-Zero go through villain decay. And of course, these are the finishers you can perform in the game. I think
Right.
that's Raiden, the Thunder God, electrocuting the cyborg Kano until his head explodes. You like
Well,
that?
good. Yes. Brilliant.
It's funny because there was I remember on The Simpsons, Bart and Homer used to play this game that was like Punch Out on their thing, and the one boxer looked like Bart, the other boxer looked like Homer in a way. It was this weird, uncanny thing. But Bart would always beat him up, and like it would be like there'd be all these horrible fatalities, and I kept thinking the people that made Mortal Kombat watched that Simpsons episode and got their idea from that.
Yeah.
That's another one. That's Scorpion, the evil ninja, who's really undead too, because he's dead.
Right.
He's like came back.
He'd pull off his mask and he had this
the skull underneath.
Right?
Yes. Oh, you know about this game?
Yeah.
Do you?
Oh,
Okay.
yeah. I played this. Sure.
Oh, I didn't realize. Okay. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
This was a big.
I
big
was really
arcade
good
game.
with Liu Kang.
Yeah, Liu Kang's popular. He's the main hero of the series.
Yeah.
That's Sonya Blaze. I guess if you watch carefully, she'll get set on fire in a
Yes.
minute later on. That's of course the famous scene of Scorpion tearing out someone's head along with the spine.
Yes. Exactly.
So all I know is this game was huge in the arcades. This game even became kind of popular in Japan, oddly enough. Because they were big on fighting games over there. It's kind of funny. I was watching this one anime about the arcade, the video game scene in Japan, and the one guy who was playing a Mortal Kombat machine, they didn't bother tailoring it for the Japanese arcade. It's just an imported arcade machine of Mortal Kombat, standing up, whereas all the other cabinets are these short things you sit down at, because that's how they do arcade in Japan. But it was kind of funny that it even had influence over there. Oh yeah, there's Kano ripping the heart out of Raiden. So there you go.
Right.
Turnabout's fair play. Anyway,
Exactly.
so. Kind of inspired by Chinese mythology, I would say. Kind of had a very Big Trouble in Little China vibe to it, I think, if memory serves me. Game got into a lot of trouble. This was the big bugaboo up the butt of every parents group at the time. It was Mortal Kombat. It was Beavis and Butthead. Anything the kids were into, basically, it was bad.
This was again one of those ridiculous, kind of like the Satanic Panic of the '80s and stuff like that. And what's ridiculous is, some of these things you could, if you twisted your head and squinted, you might be able to find some logic in what they're saying. These violent video games make people want to do violent things. All the talk they said about the Grand Theft Auto and stuff like that. Okay, fine. Because those are all games depicting things that you're actually capable of doing. Running over someone with a car, assaulting people, stuff like that, right? The fatalities in this game are so over the top. This would be like getting bent out of shape over the night duel in what do you call it? Not Spamalot. What was the name of that movie? The Holy Grail.
Oh, Monty Python and the Holy Grail, exactly.
And chopping the guy's arms and legs off, and the blood spurting, and it's like, come on. Even your 12-year-old knows this is over the top, ridiculous humor almost. This
is what some kid on the playground is saying. What he'd do to your character, like you're playing the He-Man.
Right.
I would rip Skeletor's head off and shove it up his butters. It'd be something like that. The game also had a full-blown soundtrack by Techno Syndrome, which you used in the 1995 movie. Oh, that's right.
There you go.
Big deal arcade game. This really helped Midway out a lot. This was the game at the time. It was basically Street Fighter versus Mortal Kombat. Oddly enough, they never made a Street Fighter versus Mortal Kombat game. They did make a Mortal Kombat versus DC game, which was
I
kind
heard
of
about that
interesting.
one,
And of course, it's interesting because it was kind of following the DC Universe rules because Superman, what is Superman susceptible to? He's susceptible to magic. Well, a lot of Mortal Kombat characters use magic.
Right.
And it's funny, though, they wouldn't give the DC superheroes fatalities. They would get finishers, but they wouldn't be fatal finishers.
That makes sense.
The
That is
DC
also
villains got
interesting.
fatalities, though. The Joker
of
did
course
his
they
thing. You know his thing with the gun where he shoots it out and the flag comes out with the bang on it, and then then suddenly it turns into a spear and it shoots the guy anyway, and then he laughs again. That was the Joker's finisher in that.
Funny. He
But
should have had one with his acid boutonniere.
It's possible they did because normally you get more than one finisher in these games. That's Mortal Kombat 2. Like I said, that was the one it was in the arcades, big deal in the arcades, but also was coming out home console. This is finally the time when Nintendo basically got a little even because now our version was better than the Genesis version. And then when you get to Mortal Kombat 3, both versions are actually pretty close. So for both consoles, but choose your fighter. You have some new additions though. Jax was my go-to because he's got the American flag in the background, right?
Yeah,
patriotic there. Just saying. Johnny Cage is up there too. I think originally was inspired by Bruce Lee.
Yes, I think so.
Like they wanted like a guy who did kung fu for real in movies, but it's like I want to show that I can do it for real. Kung Lao was in this game. He's another Shaolin monk like Liu Kang, because Liu Kang is a Shaolin monk, kind of like Kane from Kung Fu.
Right.
You know, there's even stages where you see the monks in the background with the shaved heads and everything.
Yeah.
Let me see though. But you got some new female characters in this game too. That's Baraka. He has like blades for hands, as I recall.
Yeah.
You know, years ago, some studio made like a short film, like a treatment for like a super realistic version of Mortal Kombat, like it existed like without the magic, but it was in our world. And Jerry Ryan was in it playing Sonya Blade. And all the fans actually went nuts. They kind of did it almost as a joke treatment, but people were taking this seriously and saying, "Why aren't you doing this as an actual movie?" You know? So, because I think originally instead of Baraka being like some creature from another dimension, he's just some guy that did self-surgery on himself or something. But I don't. People liked it. There we go. That's Scorpion again. The neat thing about these stages too is that there would be in-stage fatalities where you could use something in the stage to kill someone with too.
Oh, yeah.
And I think with one of these, like you could, there's Jax. He ripped Reptile's arms off. It's okay because if Reptile did the finisher, he would take his mask off, and it's basically like a snake face, and like I think he throws his tongue out of the other character and rips the head off and eats the head. You know.
Oh gosh, yeah.
Because it's just ridiculous.
Jax was another one that I really liked.
Jax. I liked, yeah.
With or without the fatality, you know, at the end, Jax, and he does the flex. I love that.
Oh, someone in the chat's mentioning Ermac. There's a joke about Ermac where Ermac, people kept saying there's this hidden character named Ermac. We've seen it in the code, like in the game, like we're seeing Ermac. And and all this stuff kept going around, and then it turns out, no, that was short for, I guess, error macro, or something like that. But what happened was, the people making the Mortal Kombat games took it to heart and eventually came up with a character called Ermac and put him in a future game.
That's interesting. I love when video games do stuff like that. They take some little bit of fan lore and turn it into something real. There was well, you guys know that about the only MMORPG that I play is Star Trek Online, and when you're in a combat, or at least for the longest time, there was this error code when you try to pick up loot during a pickup game. It would say something about contact loot critter or something like that, and what that was a piece of code that was really intended for people that were play testing. It wasn't supposed to show up during real gameplay. And somebody in game, as you're going past player characters in the public areas, you can see their names above their head, and one of them was Loot Critter. And I stopped and I clicked on him and I read his lore box, and he said, everyone keeps asking for me, so here I am.
Oh, that's funny. Oh, that's funny because that's what happens.
Right, exactly.
Fatality. Yes, that's a fatality in the stage that you can actually send someone up onto the spikes on top, and I
Yep.
believe the character still slides down and falls to the ground again.
There's another one where you punch him up and then he goes down and he falls to some
Spikes or something.
I don't remember if it's spikes or stones or something beneath the bridge or something.
Always
like
so.
that,
It's
yeah.
different in every game. Like some
Yeah.
party, like he cracks his head on the stones. Another one, he falls into a grinder. It's ridiculous the amount of stuff in these games, and it's all good, clean fun. Okay,
I'll tell you, great imagination on the people that came up with this stuff.
they had fun, and I know this was. I'm not. I'll be blunt. I'm not good at fighting games, but I would play this one. This was a big fighting game based around, I think, doing combos.
Yes, it
But
absolutely was. And let's face it, most of the combos, I didn't have like the poster like you did and stuff.
Yes.
That told me all the things. And
sometimes you had to learn them from people standing around.
Sometimes you just mash
Yeah.
the buttons and
Yeah.
something will suddenly happen. You'll go, oh,
Yeah.
what did I do? Can I do that again?
I hate that. That's how it all started.
Yeah.
Think about the early days of the arcade. This arcade machine in Mortal Kombat shows up. How did people know to do a finisher? It just kind of came to them over time. They would hit a button combination by accident, and then they'd be ripping someone's spine out, and then the word
Right.
spreads. And I kind of miss those days. You don't get that nowadays because everything would go online, and basically I guess the reputation of this game would grow because of like, oh, there's no way he did that. Then people start trying other things, and then another
That was
fatality
also-
happens. You know,
There was
Yeah.
that also was a great time because you could create all these crazy urban legends where someone would tell a tall tale about, well, I saw a guy and he did this, that, and the other, and blah blah blah, and it was all fugazi. But boy, it made for great stories.
I swore when I was playing Cubert one time in the arcade, he dropped the F word. Because whenever he would cuss, it would be random sounds coming together, and I could have
Yeah.
swore once when I played it, I heard it. But again, it could have
I'm
just
sure
been a
that's got to be
coincidence.
like an audio pareidolia or whatever. You
Probably.
you think you're hearing it, but it's whatever. So.
There's also some extended lore in Mortal Kombat comics from Malibu for the original Mortal Kombat 3, Mortal Kombat 4. Mortal Kombat 3 was skipped. Goro had his own comic book then too. Well, that's interesting, Final Fantasy fan. Now, the funny thing is, Warner owns Midway now, so they now own Mortal Kombat. So if they ever want to do
Which
DC
actually means
crossovers or make it part of the DC universe, they could.
Do Marvel versus DC as a movie if they wanted to.
Well, Mortal Kombat versus DC.
That's what I meant to say. Yeah.
Yes. No, it's okay. They do Marvel versus Capcom. So what they did with DC, they had DC versus Mortal Kombat. But
that would be great. And it would be great if it was like a non-canon thing. You use all the DC characters from your current DC movie line.
Yes.
But it doesn't have to have any canon with the DC stuff. Welcome, Jonathan Conroy. Good to see you.
They were trying to actually pick villains for on the DC side in the Mortal Kombat game that would fit well with a Mortal Kombat style game. So I think like Deathstroke the Terminator was one of the people you could play as because they thought he fits well in like a Mortal Kombat style atmosphere.
Who else would make a good one would be like Darkseid.
He's in it. I believe he's in it.
Godlike villains and stuff. Yeah.
In fact, it might be him. Maybe it's Darkseid teaming up with who's the name of the Emperor in the Mortal Kombat games? This always happens to me when I'm live. Anyway, the movie came out. The Mortal Kombat movie. Do you remember this?
I do.
Summer of '93, and I was super hyped for this. This was by Paul Anderson, the director, not Paul W. Anderson, the one that did Magnolia, the one who did the Resident Evil movies. He did this movie, and Shao Kahn. Thank you, Final Fantasy. I don't know why I skipped my head there. But I actually rather enjoyed this. I thought that this was, at least up to that point, the most faithful video game adaptation you'd ever seen on screen. I enjoyed the Street Fighter movie, but it's not a faithful video game adaptation.
If I'm not mistaken, it was Robin Shaw as Liu Kang.
I believe so. Yes.
I kind of thought, man, I hope his career just takes off. I hope he, fills that niche that uh, um, Bruce Lee did. But
Yeah.
I guess not. But
Hollywood, let's be honest here. They're always yelling at the audience for being the istophobes. Hollywood, in my opinion, has been very bad to Asian actors and Asian
Oh
leading men.
yeah, oh
Not
yeah.
casting them. It's not the audience that cares. We wanted to see more Asian leading men.
Absolutely.
He was awesome in this. Yes. But this is a great fight scene with him and Scorpion, I believe, in the one scene. And
no, it looks like Sub-Zero, isn't it? Because that was blue.
That's Sub-Zero. I meant to say Sub-Zero.
Right.
Yeah, you're right. It was actually Johnny Cage that fought Scorpion. Remember that? And Scorpion saying, "Get over here." He takes his mask off, and you see the skull. Poor Johnny Cage. I remember this actor. I believe he was on Silk Stockings on USA, right? He's the one that plays Johnny Cage, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. Oh,
Sounds
and
right.
he was also... No, maybe he's not the actor on Silk Stockings. I'm confusing with the guy from Kung Fu The Legend Continues. Anyway, and there's Sonya Blaze, played by...
Bridget Wilson.
Bridget Wilson, who I always want to call Bridget Nielsen, though that's not the same person.
Right,
yes.
No.
And, of course, we have as Raiden, we have the Highlander.
Oh, yeah, Christopher Lambert. That was, I thought, a weird choice.
Weird choice, but I liked him in it anyway. But yes,
sure.
Because obviously, Chinese God of Thunder. I would expect a Chinese actor to be playing him, but but it's fine. It's and of course he's from Outworld, where all the bad people are, and of course the human race has lost the tournament 9 times. If they lose it a 10th time, Outworld gets to invade and take over the Earth, right? So they have to win this tournament,
right?
And so they're chosen. Anyway, I don't know. It's basically Enter the Dragon with some supernatural stuff in it. I had a lot of fun with it, though. One of the last times too we really get to see cool animatronic beasties before we started getting computer animated stuff. That's Goro. In fact, I remember how Johnny Cage beats him in this scene. He goes for the. He does not go with the British move. The British would not pull something like that, but Johnny Cage does. He does the nutcracker, as they say.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think that's the actual move in the. But I had a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun with this movie at the time. I was very excited. There's a scene where there's an actual fight with Reptile in the movie, because Reptile was a kind of a hidden character in the first Mortal Kombat game.
Right.
And in the movie, he's kind of camouflage. He's actually a CG creation, this, until Liu Kang finally grabs him and he throws him into this statue, and then he takes over the statue, and then suddenly Reptile, and he just starts beating the crap out of Liu Kang. And you get to see Liu Kang gets the better of him, though, by the end of the fight scene.
Yeah.
But it
does seem like they gave some thought to homaging the elements of the
like, what did the fans want to see? I think they thought about that with this movie, and just really cool. And I have nothing but things to say about the first Mortal Kombat movie. Mortal Kombat Annihilation didn't make it on my top 5 worst movies, but maybe it should have. But anyway, we're not going to talk about that because this is the good old days, and that's not the good old days. But we actually got Mortal Kombat 3, which I wasn't as familiar with as the first 2, but I think I did buy it years later. New roster. Apparently, Shao Kahn figured out a way to still invade the Earth. So all the backgrounds are now on Earth, and it's basically fight for the survival of the human race. And there's some new characters here. Sub-Zero has a new look. And I did want to make a point that they did use real actors to make this game. So you can see Sonya Blaze there, and there's the actress that played her.
Mm-hmm.
And as you can see, they would have to do these poses like in front of a video screen, and the computer would have to digitize them into the game. But Mortal Kombat 3 was solid. Combo linking was very interesting. Yeah, people were very into the combo maneuvers in that game. And, it's kind of a shame, though. I guess these games are kind of forgotten to time. I don't know if any of you kids out there got a chance to play them back in the day, but I don't know. I guess it's kind of lost history. Which brings us to the first story of the night. Go ahead. Sorry.
It's also, these games were... I don't want to call them two-dimensional, but they were two-dimensional.
They were 2D.
They were side to side.
Yes.
You didn't
2D
go around
game.
them. You didn't see them in first person or third person.
3D fighters came later, though, including the Mortal Kombat games made the move to 3D too. Yeah.
Yeah.
But you want to drop the
So
first story of the?
definitely
Oh no, we
it de-
don't have to do that anymore. That's right.
I don't even have to do that. All the links to all the articles we're talking about are down below in the description.
Yes.
Starting with Mortal Kombat Legacy Collection. Catch that? It starts with a K. Is coming
Yes.
later this year.
Yes. So if any of you didn't get a chance to play these back in the day, let me read the first story of the night.
This is
I was
about the
kind of
only
excited.
non-Switch article that we have tonight.
It technically is a Switch article because it's coming out for the Switch.
Oh gosh, here we go.
It's coming out for everything though. Actually, that's because this is the reason you didn't think so because this actually came. PlayStation had their State of Play this week, which is sort of like their big unveiling of all their new games that are coming out this year. And there were some interesting picks, but I picked out a couple to talk about. We'll talk about the other one at the end of the gaming thing. Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Readers Rewind developer Digital Eclipse. What the heck was? I don't know what that was. Digital Eclipse just announced that it's bringing the original 4 Mortal Kombat games to PlayStation 4 and PS5. Don't worry, it's coming out to all last gen and current gen consoles and also Steam, I believe. So you'll have a chance to play this on whatever you own.
Again? What the heck? Well, now Nate is telling me my volume is low.
Well, I don't know what to say.
I'm just gonna crank it up, and if you guys think I'm too loud, then you're gonna just have to deal with it.
You'll just have to deal with it. All right. Anyway, though, Okay, so this collection, this is by the studio that helmed the Disney Classics Games Collection and Blizzard Arcade Collection. I want to give a shout out. I did this when remember Mr. Matchstick we used to do the Culture Fortress. And I argued that the Blizzard Arcade Collection was one of the best retro collections I'd ever seen because it included all versions of a particular game, like Lost Vikings. It had both the Super Nintendo and the Sega Genesis version, but also a version that had everything in it too. You okay there, Troy?
Yeah, no, I got nothing.
Your volume went way up again.
I don't know what to tell you.
Anyway,
I can't. It's either going to be too quiet or too loud. I can't help you guys.
It's all right.
I'm doing the best I can here.
Let's lower it a little bit. We should be all right. All right. Anyway, at Digital Eclipse, we specialize in restoring historic games for modern consoles, giving legendary classics the respect they deserve, editor-director Chris Kohler said in the announcement blog post. As you might imagine, we get a lot of requests from fans, and for many years, the overwhelming number one request has been Mortal Kombat. We don't have a release date yet, but the collection, will be available sometime later this year. This is every game that's included in this collection. We have Mortal Kombat, not just the arcade version, but also Super Nintendo, Genesis, Game Boy, and even the Game Gear versions are available. Mortal Kombat 2, Arcade, Super Nintendo, Genesis, Game Boy, and 32X edition. For those of you not in the know, the 32X was a add-on for the original Sega Genesis that was more powerful, could make you play more powerful games. Mortal Kombat 3 for the arcade, Super Nintendo, and Sega Genesis. Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3, the arcade and Super Nintendo version. Mortal Kombat 4, just the arcade version announced so far. Mortal Kombat Advance for Game Boy Advance. Mortal Kombat Deadly Alliance for the Game Boy Advance. Mortal Kombat Tournament Edition for the Game Boy Advance. It's already an extensive lineup, but Digital Eclipse has a few more surprises up its sleeve. It's not just talking about games. It also has a documentary planned that will detail the development of legendary fighting series that stirred up a violent video game panic in the 1990s when it first splattered onto arcade machines. So earlier this year, Digital Eclipse traveled to NetherRealm Studios to interview Mortal Kombat co-creators Ed Boon and John Tobias, alongside literally dozens of other Mortal Kombat experts, Kohler said. We're also going to be doing a deep dive into the history of Mortal Kombat to find design documents, early prototype materials, motion capture sessions, concept art, and much more, some never before seen. Legacy Collection will launch sometime later this year, and Digital Eclipse plans to unveil even more in the coming months. So this is almost like an interactive documentary where you get to find out about the creation of all these games, plus they let you actually play the games. So that's kind of neat.
The other thing I would say about this this whole situation with the concern about the violence and stuff, keep in mind that the extreme violence, the fatalities and so forth, is literally the kid playing the game punching in the combinations. So you actually have to choose to experience that. It's not hurting your kid any. And if you have a problem with it as a parent, maybe you should be talking to your kid about it, not the video game company. You know?
Yeah. Well, yeah, but does anybody care about
Just like, I mean, who are you gonna blame when your kid starts swearing, right? Your kid chose to say that word. You know, you talk to your kid about it, right? Not whomever you think it was they heard it from in the world.
And then take them to a night at the theater with the David Mamet play.
Well, there you go.
Anyway, but no, I mean these games are old though. I don't know if people care about. Yeah, they had babalities. They made there's a joke later on the later Mortal
Oh, it turned them into babies. Yeah, which I always felt was like a tongue-in-cheek poking at the people that were crybabies about the fatalities.
All these were poking. Okay, you don't like fatalities? Well, we've added friendships and babalities. Like a friendship might be someone like doing something silly, like giving the other player a present when they.
Which honestly, from a game standpoint, it's like, okay, that's just another option for me. I like that. Yeah.
And yeah, it's just it's ridiculous. But big fan. Big fan of what these companies do with these retro collections. I'm keeping my fingers crossed, guys. I know you don't typically do this. Please release a physical release for this. Give a physical release. I would like to own a physical copy of this. I mean, to be blunt, I would probably buy a digital copy. If you do physical copies for both Switch and PlayStation 4, I'll pick it up on both.
Were there animalities too? Final Fantasy fan is talking about
later on. Yes, animalities where your character would turn into an animal and attack the person, but it was still violent, so they would turn.
Okay.
PS4 should have it physically. Well, they have with the Capcom collections. They've released stuff physically. So I'm really hoping whoever's releasing this are reading the tea leaves and say people actually like to buy physical copies of this stuff. And these collections are really cool, though. Like I said, the Blizzard Arcade collection, excellent collection of... Because before Blizzard was a PC game company, they actually started up making console games. And they made this one called The Lost Vikings, where you play a trio of Vikings that get abducted by an alien named the Tomador, and you're stuck on an alien spacecraft, and you have to figure a way off. And the one Viking goes up to one of the aliens on the ship, and the alien says, "Are you the janitor? We have to destroy the main computer." And the Viking says, "What is a janitor?" And no, I'm not he. And also, what is a computer? But no, these Mortal Kombat collections should be good. They should feature plenty of interviews with many of the actors involved, including the actors that played the lovely Sonya in the Mortal Kombat games. This was a game back that got Congress. Oh yeah, they did. Senator Joseph Lieberman was the main guy on point. And I'm going to be blunt, Nintendo didn't help with this matter, at least in the early days. It's funny how Nintendo starts with, supposedly they had leaked video to Senator Joseph Lieberman, all the fatalities in the Genesis version, hoping it would hurt the Sega Genesis, and it didn't, because they just went after Nintendo anyway, because you still have Mortal Kombat on your system. Yeah, but our version's censored, but they didn't care. Yeah. So I think Nintendo relented, just released Mortal Kombat 2 uncensored. You'll get to play the censored version of Mortal Kombat 1 on the Super Nintendo. In this collection, they'll be there, along with the superior Sega Genesis version. And the arcade version, if you want the perfect version. Play the arcade version. But it's kind of neat that I like the fact they're including the console ports. I wish more companies would do this. I would love a Prince of Persia collection. You guys listening out there, Prince of Persia collection with every possible version of Prince of Persia on it. I want the Japanese PC version. I want the Sega CD version. I want the Genesis version, the Super. I want every Prince of Persia version on this collection, please, of the same game. What do you think?
Final Fantasy fan says they've done physical copies. They were made after the digital release, like what they've done with Marvel vs. Capcom collection. I mean, let's hope that they continue to do stuff like that. The way the industry's going, I wouldn't hold my breath, you know?
Yeah, Marvel vs. Capcom, he's right. That came out as a digital collection, but they at least told us up front that a physical version was coming. It was just going to come a couple months later. What drives me nuts is, like, when they released the Tomb Raider collection, I'm like, but I want it, so I buy it, and then and then like 2 months later, there's a physical version coming out, thanks.
Well, and see, there is... Okay, so now I can also see a positive spin on the delayed physical release.
I don't
Because
care
if
if
they're
they
going to.
delay it, but let me know it's coming. That's all.
Well, true. But what I'm getting at with the reasoning behind that, if they're going to release it digitally, and then they're going to go, oh, there's something wrong, we got to put out a patch, or we got to upgrade this, or whatever,
Oh, that
then
makes
put out a
sense.
physical.
And then you can put
You
out the
know.
physical, the fixed version later on.
Yeah,
I
that
respect that.
makes.
Like for
Yeah.
those of you who like classic Tomb Raider, there's a classic. Tomb Raiders 4 through 6 are getting a classic physical release, and so is Soul Reaver Collection too that came out digitally. That's also getting a physical release. So, like I say, what I sometimes do is if I buy it digital on one console and a physical comes out later, I might buy it physical but on the other console. So like that Turtles game I really liked, which I bought on the Switch, and then of course you're bringing out a physical, but it's coming out on PlayStation 4. So you know what? I'll get it physical on PS4. I was already considering getting it on that anyway,
Sure.
because I'm a Turtles nut, and I like to have Turtles games on multiple consoles because I'm nuts. Anyway, Age Boomer, we also want remakes of the Killzone games, Sly Cooper games, and Weird Psych. You got to talk to Sony about that. I think there's interest, and I think that. Especially with the Killzone games, I think people would be. Sony should really be dusting off some of their first-person shooters series, especially since Microsoft owns Call of Duty now. They may want to hedge their bets in case they ever decide to take it away. But. Moving on to Switch 2 news, Troy's favorite topic, Nintendo.
I mean, it's all Switch news all the time here.
It won't be soon enough. I'm not particularly interested in the Switch 2, at least not right now. She is a novel. Oh. Made good with no bugs. Back in the old days, you don't release a car that won't drive. Yeah, I know. It's one of the things I don't like about modern gaming, but at least it depends on the developer too, though. Like I notice a lot of Japanese developers, they would release a game and they would include patches with it, but it would mostly be complete at launch. And then some AAA Western developers would release a game and it wouldn't even be on the disc. You'd be downloading half of it. So it just depends on the company. Okay, Jesse Guajardo, I understand your feelings. Anyway, Switch 2 US.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with Jesse up and down. I've been saying that for. I don't even have a dog in the hunt, and I hate this company.
I think I'm more pragmatic than everybody else. It's not that I don't have my criticism.
You've got Stockholm syndrome, is what it is.
I don't have Stockholm syndrome. I get annoyed when you call me a Nintendo stan. I'll show you what the Nintendo stands look like in a minute. You don't know. Okay. Switch 2 US pre-orders reportedly canceled by major retailers. This is bizarre to me that these pre-orders canceled. I'm going to do a shout out to the real life fake wizard. He has no proof of this. He was just saying it was a rumor, but he was wondering. They were wondering if some of these Switch 2 cancellations were done on purpose to hype up the system as something you really want. Like, what's the easiest way to get someone to want something?
Tell them they can't have it.
Exactly. A number of would-be customers across the pond in the United States have experienced unexpected Switch 2 cancellations. Posts on the likes of Reddit and social media platform X, so several patrons have had their Switch 2 orders canceled from retailers such as Walmart and Target. Just checked because I saw a post on X from Wario64, and it was about making sure payment is and all is good for when they are ready to ship. I checked, and my order got canceled 2 days ago. Oh, that's messed up. They didn't even tell them about it. Reads one Reddit user titled Target canceled my order. According to replies, the original poster is not the only one this happened to. Another post that anyone else switched pre-order got canceled out of nowhere. Shared on the Walmart subreddit said the same thing. I just got an email saying it was canceled due to a payment error, even though it was the same card I pre-ordered with. Even more examples of these Switch 2 cancellations can be found on X. Walmart, you have failed me for canceling my Switch 2 pre-order when my payment method is valid, has funds available. Give it back, and poster wrote this weekend. This strikes me as very shady. I mean, I have no evidence.
Well, this is another reason why I don't do pre-orders for anything anymore. And you mentioned Target in there as well. I will never order anything from Target ever again.
Yeah, well, so it seems like this was mainly a Target Walmart issue.
Yeah.
The reports followed last week's news here in the United Kingdom, which saw retailer Game admitted to cancel a number of Switch 2 online pre-orders with just days to go before the highly anticipated console's release. At this time, Game said it was aiming to reinstate as many affected pre-orders as possible. The Switch 2 is set to release later this week on the 5th of June. Eurogamer's former EIC Tom Phillips has already been hands-on with Nintendo's update. Yeah, I don't care. Okay. Anyway, I had only once pre-ordered a console before its launch. Did you know this? I had pre-ordered the Nintendo 64. That was back in 1996. This was a year after the whole Mortal Kombat 2 thing. Actually, 2 years after the Mortal Kombat 2 thing. That's right. It was fall 1994 was Mortal Kombat 2. Anyway, blah. And what you would do back in the day when you would pre-order a game console, you would go into a store. I tended to like Toys R Us the most for buying my games at. And I would go into Toys R Us, and they would have these ticket slips you could pick up. And you would pay like $10 down. Maybe with the Nintendo 64 it was $20 down. But they would deduct that from the final price, too. So you would pre-order the console. You'd bring your ticket back in with your pre-order, and then they would, you'd get the console. You'd pay for the rest of it on the pre-order day. Yeah. And this way it would secure your console. The company would still get some money up front, too, for holding it, but you wouldn't be,
right.
They would still deduct it from the final cost of the console. They weren't charging extra or anything. So, and I did that, and I pre-ordered the Nintendo 64 along with Super Mario 64 and Pilot Wings 64. I had all of them pre-ordered with money I'd gotten from my first summer job.
Oh, nice.
Yes. Fans, okay, but here's the big news of the night. This is, of course, the around the world. So I think those of us hoping for a failed launch, sorry. People still came out in droves for this thing. From Tokyo.
I told you they're slapping that vein and saying just plug it in for me.
In defense of the people in Tokyo, Nintendo isn't overcharging for the console in Tokyo. It's only like
that's true.
Over there, throngs of gamers stood in long lines outside of stores hours before they opened Thursday from Tokyo to New York City in hopes of snaring a long-awaited Nintendo Switch 2 video game console. Enthusiasts have been clamoring for an upgrade to Nintendo's 8-year-old predecessor for years. Nintendo, which is counting on the Switch 2 to boost sagging sales, has added new social features meant to lure players into online gaming. Yeah, you can buy a camera, an actual video camera, where you can see the other person on the screen. People are terrified that this may lead to children seeing things they shouldn't be seeing. Okay, I'm just
I wouldn't be surprised. Exactly.
That'll be interesting when that happens, if they'll be able to trace it back to the person that did it and the cops show up. I don't know. Enthusiasts have been clamoring for an okay, yeah, we already said that. The much anticipated Switch 2 being released around the world Thursday is an upgrade to its 8-year-old predecessor with new social features meant to draw players into online gaming. Nintendo was counting on the Switch 2 to boost sagging sales. Yes. In the U.S., a chaotic pre-order process in April left some fans frustrated. After the consoles quickly sold out, people lined up early Thursday at stores in hopes of buying one. I'm just rolling the dice here, said Edgar Hu, who was in a line of about 25 outside of a Target in Tribeca neighborhood of Manhattan, New York. Many of those waiting for the store to open had ordered online, but a few, like hoped for a chance at purchasing any extra inventory the store had. In Japan, the new consoles were sold through a competitive lottery system that Nintendo said got to about 2.2 million applications. Outside the official draw, some retailers offered their own lotteries to pre-order the devices. Koji Takahashi was among those who missed out on an official draw, but he was selected in the second round of a lottery held by a major electronics retailer in Japan. He was first in line waiting outside the store, arriving 4 hours ahead of its opening. He hoped to secure a limited supply of Nintendo accessories to buy along with his pre-ordered Switch 2. I feel very sorry for those who weren't successful in the lottery, but I also had time to get this far, so I hope they forgive me, Takahashi said. Apparently, those on the bottom end of the lottery got stoned to death, but that's neither here nor there. It's a joke from the Shirley Jackson story, never mind. Okay. Nintendo of America President Doug Bowser told CBS Morning Plus today that the company is aware of the demand for its news system and is working to get units in the hand of customers. We'll have a steady supply of manufacturing that will be coming in, and we believe we'll be able to meet that demand all the way through the summer, through Father's Day, and then into the holiday period also, Bowser said. The new console comes with a larger and higher resolution screen than its predecessor. Okay, blah, blah, blah. All right. Switch 2's rollout arrives at an uncertain time for much of the gaming industry due to new tariffs implemented by U.S. President Donald Trump. In the U.S., the Switch 2's baseline launch price is $449.99, significantly higher than the original Switch's $299 price tag. Think about it. That's like half the price of the Switch added on.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
This is more of a local news story, but I thought I would pick. Knowing what I know, man, we were naive in the late 90s and early 2000s when it came to online etiquette. We probably were. Dude, sounds like a complete mess. How is Nintendo still going? Because
you have people.
Look.
They are so addicted. They're like, yes, charge me more, Daddy, please.
Take my money, please. That's what they say.
Yeah.
This guy with the Nintendo Switch 2 shirt.
I'll pay twice as much.
Here we go. There's a line from a Best Buy somewhere in the United States. What do you think of that, huh?
Gosh, it's ridiculous.
Someone from work was telling me about this, and I wanted to show them the clip, which had Homer Simpson screaming, "Nerd!"
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Did I ever tell you I almost did this once? Years back, Nintendo.
You almost called someone a nerd like that?
No. What happened was, the NES Classic was coming out. That was the little Nintendo mini console, which had 30 NES games on it that Nintendo was releasing. I thought, that sounds rather cool. What is it, $60? And I get this little thing, I hook up to my TV, and it's got 30 classic NES games on it. I couldn't pre-order it, though. All the pre-orders sold out. And I said, you know what? Day it comes out, I actually have off. I'll drive down to I think it was Best Buy before it opens. I'll get there like 15 minutes before the store opens, and I'll just I'll walk in, get myself a copy, and suddenly I see a line outside the Best Buy, and I'm thinking, no, these people cannot be waiting for the Switch 2. And I think I went online and I hear people, why are these people those Switch? NES Classic. They're all here for the NES Classic. I got in my car and went home. I'm just I'm not doing this. And
well, good. You have brains.
That was another cluster where they only had about 5 per store, and like the first person in line would buy all 5 of them and sell them on eBay for like.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway. This is my problem with the distribution model. And this is a problem for the company too. You are going to sell that small quantity that you put out there, but someone else out there is making 2 and 3 times as much money that you should be making as a company yourself.
Yes.
You know?
Anyway,
but you're literally giving money away.
Anyway, this was from more than 200 people stood out in line for hours on Wednesday at the Best Buy in Cary, waiting for the store to open at midnight. They got their hands on the highly anticipated Nintendo Switch 2, new Mario Kart game exclusively sold with it. Since I was a child, I really liked Nintendo games. Vlad Darrell, who was the first in line at Best Buy, said, I'm a big fan of Mario Kart games, and once I heard that the Nintendo Switch 2 was coming out with Mario Kart World, I'm like, I had to get that. Darrell stood in front of the line for about 14 hours.
Jeez.
He said he and other gamers who waited alongside him made the most of the experience. It was really cool, really collective. He said we played music. There was a lot of stuff happening. Lines stretched in both directions outside Best Buy at Crossroads Plaza. One side was for customers who pre-ordered the console. The other was for customers taking the chance at purchasing one. Pre-orders had certain requirements, including a Nintendo membership. Oh, you have to be a member of Nintendo Switch Online, I think, to have gotten that pre-order. Keo Cameron got to the store at 5:30 p.m. to secure a Nintendo Switch 2 for her son's birthday Thursday. It'll be worth it, she said. His experience in the morning when he wakes up, he's going to lose his mind. The first Nintendo Switch launched 8 years ago. Ever since, gamers and even grandparents have been waiting for the newer version. Well, they weren't waiting for the new version 8 years ago because it had just come out, right? Oh, look at this. Check this out. I wanted to get it because we have 7 grandkids from 4 to 17, and I see them doing it well, and said, although I'm 73, I thought I could learn this. I had the first Atari, the first Sega Genesis, so now the Nintendo Switch 2. That's a bit of a generation gap there.
Yeah, I would say.
Nintendo Switch 2. Actually, the classic gaming room guy always said that he felt the Sega Genesis was the best successor the Atari ever had, because even though it wasn't Atari, he felt people who liked Atari could gravitate toward the Sega. Even had the same kind of controller ports on it too. I've always been a huge Nintendo fan, just really a big fan of Mario Kart, obviously, said Eric Hale, who was the first person in line for pre-orders. I've been playing Mario Kart 8 since it first came out on the Wii U, so I'm stoked for the new system. So it's very obvious to me that these are the people that will buy anything Nintendo releases on launch day, and maybe buy 2 versions of it. That's what we're dealing with here.
Yep.
This did not exist when I was a kid. When I was growing up, people liked Nintendo, but they didn't have this level of obsession with it. It's probably gotten worse over the years, so yes. Sounds like the best place to open up a food stand. Dude, if you had a hot dog stand out there...
Ah, yeah, exactly. Yep.
Dude, vendors, man, you got a pretzel hot dog stand, something like that, go to one of these launches.
Exactly.
Talk to the Best Buy. Look, you're closed anyway. Can I just set up my hot dog stand out here?
Right.
I'll give you a free hot dog. So Best Buy is going down. So Best Buy isn't going down the road of Chapter 11. They're still not a terrible place to buy games from. I mean, I don't like their store policy, especially what they did to some of their older staff when they let them go. But yeah, blaming Trump again. Yeah, I'll stick to old school games. Well, part of this though is nostalgia. I mean, Mario Kart's existed since 1993, I think. Yeah, that's how long it's been around for. No, even older than that, actually. So, what up, party people? We're just talking about I was trying to make a point though. Troy accused me of being a Nintendo stand the other week. These are the Nintendo stands, dude. Okay.
Yeah, and it's very disheartening.
14 hours for anything. Go ahead.
This is why the industry are becoming the way they are, and it's like, well, that's just great, and the companies don't even realize this is the gradual death of their company, because what happens is the average person can't afford it, isn't willing to jump through all the hoops, and they just effing walk away. And then you got these very few people that will pay whatever, stand in line forever, they've got to have it. And that's a finite number of people that over time are going to disappear from the marketplace for whatever reason.
Don't these people exist in all markets, though?
Yes.
Like in the toy community.
People are idiots in all different communities, yes.
But what I wanted to say, though, is that the real fake wizard, I'm calling him out, well, I'm giving him a shout out, not calling him out, excuse me. I'm just saying he was making a point that, they think they released it now because, look, now is the time we sell to the diehard Nintendo fanboys that he was calling them neckbeards. So that's not my word, but
yeah.
I did notice the guy with the Switch 2 shirt had a bit of a
neckbeard, yeah.
Had hair on his neck. I'm just anyway.
Yeah.
But going into the next story, this was a funny launch day story for the Nintendo Switch 2. GameStop, dude. One GameStop apparently stapled receipts to brand new Switch 2 boxes, and guess what happened? So the Switch 2 has different packaging than older Switch consoles. Basically the main console is right underneath the top of the system. Do you understand? The top of the console.
Okay, yeah.
Back to the top instead of on the bottom. So there you... Okay, let me read this article. So there you are in the midnight launch line to collect your brand spanking new Nintendo Switch 2. Perhaps you waited 14 hours for it. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's been a bit of an ordeal getting your pre-order in, but none of that matters now. You're here, you've made it, and you're about to get your first taste of Mario Kart World on pristine new Nintendo hardware, except when you open the box, you see that your hardware is less than pristine, thanks to a GameStop employee who apparently used a stapler to attach pre-order receipts directly to the Switch 2 boxes with the predictable results. Oof. As highlighted by the Redoubtable Warrior 64 Reddit user, Conflict says they opened their new Switch 2 to find 2 neat staple marks scratched into the console screen. Worse still, apparently they weren't alone. At least 100 people had their receipts stapled directly into those boxes, according to a reply from Conflict. What do you think of that?
You know what? That is just stupid. That is just stupid. It is...
Maybe use tape next time. You could tape it to the box. Get some Scotch tape.
That is a level of
Put it in a
stupid.
bag or something, staple it to the bag and put the Nintendo Switch thing. That's what GameStop used to do. When I got my Ocarina of Time for the Nintendo 64, it came in this nice fancy bag. It came with a free poster, and it was this cool gold bag, and that's what you could attach the receipt to instead of just damaging the box and apparently the console itself. Yeah, that's not good. GameStop, they sell toys there too,
Yeah.
All right. And of course, here's the final article, the Switch article of the night. Unfortunately, this is a trend with most modern gaming. I think a few weeks ago we reported that the Oblivion remaster had Type 1 and Type 2 bodies to pick from instead of male and female. Well, it looks like Nintendo has followed suit. The customizable avatars that Nintendo uses for on consoles reportedly be genderless for the Nintendo Switch. Multiple individuals shared screenshots of the Mii creation screen that gives owners the choice of 2 different styles for their Miis. The styles are not labeled. However, Nintendo does state some games may use style as a gender indicator.
What's absolutely ridiculous about this is you're catering to a demographic that believes these kinds of things are so-called fluid, right? And they want to be represented the way they want to be represented, and you are going to go and make less ability to have gender expression. That's friggin' brilliant.
Well, you got your 2 choices. There you go. But it's saying, well, we're not assigning gender to either of these types. Some games where I guess you might use a Mii, it might actually determine that you're using a male gender. But it's like they're trying to have their cake and eat it too there.
Right.
It's just... I've always hated
that.
the Miis.
I'll tell you what, you just used a phrase that really sums it up. They're trying to have their cake and eat it too. And when you are in a contentious situation like that, that's a great way to annoy everybody and drive away all of your audience. If you try to please everyone, you end up pleasing nobody.
And impose orthodoxy and participation is not optional, unless you decide not to buy. But the trouble is, it's included on every console, and of course, I doubt if we told any of the people waiting on the lines about this if they'd care. So here we are.
Oh yeah, you're right. It's like I don't care. I gotta have it. I gotta have it. I gotta have it. I don't care that they're using child slave labor in sweatshops overseas. I gotta have it.
Well, I don't know if Nintendo does that. They probably.
No, I'm just saying it's that kind of mentality that and then they're gonna blame the tariffs. Well, the tariffs are specifically to combat exactly that. So, we know what side you would have been on in the 30s if you lived in Germany. Just saying.
I hate to tell you this. We keep thinking that were the Germans so different than anybody else in the rest of the world? It was, that this can't happen in any part of the world.
I know. These people were so evil, and yet you literally are representing those analogous ideologies today. You didn't learn.
So this was interesting to me. This is an older story. There's been a lot of talk about the game prices increasing and everything else. Turns out the amiibos are increasing in price too, which I was shocked by. Amiibos are typically $15.99. If they're more complicated or larger, they might charge you $20 for one. There are these little statues that you can buy for your Nintendo Switch. It's basically toys to life. Years back, various companies did this. You had Disney making Disney Infinity that used a lot of the Disney figurines with them, or Marvel or Star Wars. You could use them with Disney Infinity. Activision had Skylanders. Nintendo came up with their own called Amiibos, and they're the only company still making these or using them with games. But you'll put this on your console, and Mario might get another power-up, or Link might get a fancy sword in the game, and you can use them once a day. They give you extra things in games, basically, by using these little figurines. But Nintendo Switch to Amiibo are now more expensive due to U.S. tariffs on China, because that's apparently where these are made. Amiibo prices range from $29.99 to $39.99, up from the previous $13 manufacturer's just retail price. To be fair, the price of that increased already to $15.99, but for a while they were only $12.99. That was another thing where Nintendo kind of shorted the supply and everybody was going nuts trying to get every Amiibo. years ago?
Yeah,
Did you know that was going on years ago?
I'd heard
Are you,
about
are you
that.
getting
Yeah,
a taste for this company?
right.
But the Zelda amiibo, Sidon, Riju, Yunobo, and Tulin are $29.99 each, and that strikes me as nuts. And Street Fighter 6 amiibo are $39.99. Are you nuts? That's the price of what a game would cost. A lower
Mm-hmm.
end game. I'm not paying that. While
Well,
switched to production moved to Vietnam, most accessories and amiibo are still made in China. So that's it. So the amiibos have also gone up in price. It's an older story, but one I had neglected to even pay attention to years ago. Okay. And I'll probably have a story next week on Microsoft. Apparently the $80 game thing is now cemented over on Xbox too. Speaking of games that hopefully will not be $80 when they come out, but there's some James Bond news.
yeah, this was interesting.
I'm not sure how I feel about this. I thought the trailer looked decent. I'm not gonna lie. Some people are screaming about it though. Like some people either love this trailer or hate it. Opinion online's been very mixed. But 007 First Light reveals new young James Bond with The Walking Dead's Lenny James set to co-star. Lenny James played Morgan on The Walking Dead. You watched The Walking Dead, right? Remember Morgan was Rick Grimes met him and his son early on the show.
Right.
Remember? Yeah, I Morgan was interesting. I thought he had a lot of character growth on that show. I felt he was a man trying not to succumb to the violence of the world around him, even though at one point he actually becomes feral, and this guy has to take him in and basically, I want to say, I don't want to say reconstruct, like, he basically says, you have an extreme form of PTSD and I'm going to try to bring you back. And this guy was teaching him, I think, Kendo or whatever the sick martial arts was. It was interesting. Anyway, he's been on The Walking Dead. He's actually British, though. He has a British accent. But today's PlayStation State of Play broadcast has provided our first proper look at 007 First Light, the upcoming James Bond game from Hitman Studio IO Interactive that's due to launch in 2026. That's a good studio to work on this, to be able to make the Hitman games. In a cinematic trailer for the game showcase, a fresh-faced James Bond at the beginning of his career as an agent who joins MI6 and meets new versions of classic characters like M, Q, and Moneypenny. Now, to be fair, these may be M, Q, or Moneypenny. They might be other characters. They didn't specifically say. I think the one guy is supposed to be Q, though. But the trailer also revealed the involvement of Walking Dead's Lenny James, who will portray Bond's mentor, John Greenway, in the game. 007 First Light's trailer reveals this incarnation of James Bond was involved in a childhood tragedy that left him as an orphan at age 11, at which he spent the rest of his childhood in various British boarding schools. We later see Bond as a young recruit in the Royal Navy, from which he is recruited by MI6. It's here that players pick up Bond's story as he becomes an agent, picks up an Omega watch, and starts annoying Q by trying out his gadgets in the lab. It's interesting. Q looks younger as well. He still looks older than Bond, obviously, but he has like grayish hair, but he's like maybe like early 50s or something, you know, so it's interesting how Q seems younger as well. It's here that players pick up Bond's story as he becomes an agent. A press release issued alongside the game's State of Play appearance lists Bond's age in 007 First Light as a young 26-year-old. Players will be traverse the globe in what is described as a story-driven action-adventure game where you can choose how to navigate various challenges, either with brute force or 007's trademark charm.
Real quick, I want to thank CluuStudios. Thank you so much for gifting a membership to the Potawatomi. Welcome to membership, and thank you for once again growing our community, the Clue channel. You are wonderful. I appreciate it.
Bond was a full commissar in the Navy, so he can't be that young. He's 26 in the game. I mean, I don't know. Can you have had a full military career at that point? By 26, maybe you can. I mean, it's.
I do feel like there is something missing from the lore when you don't have a background as a war veteran. You know, I mean, all of this kind of came out of the whole World War II, going into the Cold War.
It did, but here's the problem. Even with reading the books, I don't get a firm grasp on what his military career was. This is what was said in the books.
Right.
And of course, this isn't what's going to be in the game because this is set in modern times again, not which I know some people were hoping for a historic Bond game, but that's not what we're going to get, I guess, back in the period. But in the books, what I heard was he had been doing stuff, I guess, under naval intelligence in the Second World War, and he had gotten his 00 by killing a member of the Vichy French, which I guess were the French working for a certain German organization, and the other person was working for the Japanese Empire during World War II. That were his two. So he did covert stuff during World War II. That's all I know about it. Maybe they go and maybe further on in the books they explain more of that in detail. That's just as far as I've gotten. But I don't know. I'll say this: at least the mood of this game from the trailer I saw at least felt a lot different than what I saw in the Daniel Craig movies. It at least seemed to have that more sense of fun and adventure like the old Bond movies had. But I don't know, though. It's the first time we've had a young Bond.
Yeah, it is weird.
Like an origin story, basically, for how his character became a 00 agent.
And I do understand why they're doing this. They're trying to distance themselves from the movies, too.
Well, also from probably the new movies Amazon is working on. And that's another thing I'm curious about. Will this be canon with whatever Amazon is planning to do with the
I'm sure it's probably not. Probably not, yeah.
This is an actual actor they're using for the game, though. I've seen him in real life. Looks a little different, but he's a young British man. But I don't know. I did appreciate in the trailer, though, how they're building up, and then they go into a car chase scene, and then you hear the theme song from Her Majesty's Secret Service playing in the background, and you see Bond kicking butt.
Interesting.
To the main theme, the orchestral theme from Her Majesty's Secret Service.
That one, yeah, exactly.
Which I thought was a neat little callback, because they usually go with the regular Bond theme, but they went with that Bond theme for this. Even though you do hear a little bit of the regular Bond theme at the very end of the trailer. I don't know. I think it looks promising. Other people are screeching about it. Maybe they're right. I'd like to think that the virus hasn't infected all forms of entertainment, but we'll see. As the game comes out. It's coming out for PlayStation 5, Xbox Series, Nintendo Switch 2, where I'm sure you'll buy it on a handy Switch game key, in which you won't own the game and it'll download and take up a bunch of space on your SD card. Because they're not selling actual physical games on the Switch 2 for a lot of third-party games, which is the big thing that is a no for me on the Switch 2.
Yep.
I'm not buying GameCube cards. This is nonsense. I want to own my games. They don't want you to own things.
Exactly. That's what I've been saying.
Some people have said if buying isn't owning, then piracy isn't theft. I've heard people say that.
That's true. That's absolutely true.
Okay, but I don't know. I think it looks promising. Make up your own mind. I'm sure Retro Blasting will be getting this game when it comes out and doing a full review of it, like he did with the Indiana Jones game. What do you think?
Yeah, that sounds about right.
He'll probably pick this up, so I will wait for his opinion on that. He's a Bond fan as well, so I'm curious what his opinion will be. They did get the lore right, though, about his parents dying in the climbing accident. That was mentioned in the movie GoldenEye.
Yeah.
So he was an orphan at a young age. Hopefully it'll be good, and the Bond fans will enjoy it. That's what I'm hoping. I at least like the fact... One thing I will say about this, they gave him a little scar on his face coming down on the side.
Right.
Near his cheek. In the books, it's more on the side of his face. But I appreciate the fact they gave him a scar. They've never done that with the character before, but that's actually a trait of his in the books.
Exactly.
Because the idea is if you're involved in danger work, whether you're a villain or one of the people on the right side, you're going to get scarred.
Yep.
All right, moving on. This was an interesting story. In a way, it's a PSA. What do you think?
Oh, gosh.
It's okay. It's not as bad as you think. All right.
Okay.
James Gunn's leaked Batman concept art gets official response from the studio. Concept art for Swaybox Studios' animated Batman spin-off Dynamic Duo. So apparently there's an animated Batman coming out. Was allegedly leaked online on May 30th, spreading like wildfire to the point that Swaybox Studios had to release an official response. 3 pieces of concept art from the Dynamic Duo was first posted on Reddit in the unofficial DCAU subreddit. And the concept art showed Batman entering Dick and Jacen shared bedroom, a future Nightwing and Red Hood surveying Gotham, and at the center of the leak, the designs for the titular duo. Jason's unconventional mohawk of red hair immediately caught the attention of fans, some even questioning the decision. But this wouldn't be the first time Jacen hasn't been a redhead in animation or the comics, since Grant Morrison's Batman and Robin was what introduced him as a secret redhead. Is that true?
I don't know, and I'm getting tired of them looking for. They search through all the minutia of things in the comics and go, see, it's comic accurate because this happened, and it's like, yeah, but did the fans actually take to it, or did they retcon that out, or was that an alternate universe, or was that something that happened once and then never brought back again? You know, I'm getting sick of using that as a justification for something.
However, fans worried about Jacen's radical new look should be relieved to learn that Swaybox Studios' response to the leaks on Instagram was to debunk them outright, confirming that the concept art that had leaked online is not from our film. Well, this concept art is unfortunately fake. Do you think it's unfortunate that it's fake?
Well, it's unfortunate that it would be released, presented as real, and then force them to have to deal with this crap. So yes,
like, I'm looking at this myself. I'm not as offended by Robin, but I don't like the whatever the red. No, that's a no.
Yeah,
I don't like that design on the right. Robin and Speedy, Jesse Garota. Yeah, Speedy's the redhead. You're right.
Yeah.
Anyway, though, while many viewers of the footage highlighted, apparently CinemaCon did provide footage of the movie. Many viewers of the footage highlighted Dynamic Duo's use of puppetry animation, with the movie composite teasing a scene featuring Dick Grayson and the Batmobile on X. First footage of Dynamic Duo shown during Warner Brothers Animation sizzle reel. Batmobile crashes through a pillar, and Dick Grayson, we think, is shown riding on the subway. Looks gorgeous. So they just said it looks good, but we don't know. So they are working, I guess, on an animated feature or series focused on Dick Grayson, I'm assuming?
I guess.
Oh, remember how you were complaining about how the new Batman movie was going to have Damian Wayne in it as Robin, and you're skipping over all that history? Maybe they're trying to fill in that history with these animated features, because apparently everything is going to be animated universe. Okay, yeah. Yeah,
that could be, you're right.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know. Giving Speedy a bad life, is Green Arrow that bad of taking care of his partners? He probably is. I always thought Green Arrow was very mouthy and very accusatory, and it's like, well, let's look at your own house, okay, before you're throwing stones.
Well, what's funny, too, is at least the way they depicted him back in the 70s was
Green Arrow,
that he...
Green Lantern, yeah.
Green Arrow was the liberal, and Green Arrow was the conservative. And so, if Green Arrow comes out being the one that, people look at askance and think he really needs to clean his room, that kind of bears out, yeah.
What was funny on Justice League, John Stewart was the main Green Lantern on Justice League, so they didn't do that, but they sort of had him riffing off Captain Atom a couple of times. Remember Captain Atom?
Yeah.
He said, and I think Captain Atom made a reference, and he's like, "Wait a minute, nuclear? What are you?" And he says, "No, I'm pure nuclear energy." And he's saying, "With a name like Captain Atom, what do you think I was?" And he said, "I think you're what I protested against back in college." It was a funny scene. All right, moving on to Zaslav, our favorite.
Oh gosh.
The majority of Warner Brothers Discovery shareholders who voted for that company's 2020 annual meeting evidently believe CEO David Zaslav and other top executives are earning too much. At Warner Brothers Discovery's annual stockholders meeting held June 2nd, investors voted down a non-binding advisory measure to approve the 2024 compensation packages of Zaslav and company's other named executive officers. According to an SEC filing, such a measure is referred to as a say-on-pay vote designed to give shareholders a voice in expressing approval or disapproval of exec compensation. Per the Warner Brothers Discovery tallies, there were 7.424.5 million shares voted for the executive compensation package advisory. 1.06 billion shares voted against the measures, meaning that almost 60% of the votes cast were against the pay packages. So basically, they're saying you're not earning our company enough money.
Absolutely, and you don't deserve a pay raise. Exactly.
I think it's actually about time. It might be too late.
Yeah, it's been long past time for a lot of
Well,
companies,
he
not
hadn't
just
brought
this
on to
one.
fix it, so they were probably trying to give him a chance. Yeah.
Well, yeah, no, that's a decent point, but a lot of companies are sorely in need of holding their management responsible for the lack of business and the lack of competent leadership.
Yeah, and for 2024, Zazz's pay package rose 4.4% to $51.9 million. According to the company's latest statement, his base salary was $3 million and received stock awards worth of $23.1 million, bonus compensations of $23.9 million, and all other compensation of $1.9 million. So, wow, that's a huge chunk of change.
Yeah.
Wait a minute, they're $40 billion in debt.
Yep. How do you justify a raise in pay for your executives when you're that far in the hole?
Well, remember, he was brought on from Discovery, and to be fair, Discovery I think was healthy because it was mainly reality shows like, you know, you know, I murdered my five mistresses,
Right.
you know, house repair, home
Exactly.
shows and stuff like that. So relatively cheap to make, I think, compared to like major movies.
Right.
Remember, we were expecting like fishing shows with Jason Momoa's Aquaman hosting like a.
We did make that joke. That's right.
I remember that. None of these CEOs need millions of dollars paychecks. Well, I don't, especially not.
Well,
unfortunately.
I would go. Let me refocus that a little bit. Rather than none of these CEOs needs millions of dollars paychecks, it's not about what they need. Have they earned it? If they've earned it, doesn't matter if they need it. Give it to them if they've earned it. But they haven't. That's the key.
Will they relaunch the SWAT Cats and Captain Planet? They might do that on Adult Swim.
Justice Friends on Cartoon Network.
like as a yeah, I don't know. All right, moving on to. Fortunately, there have been some layoffs at Warner Brothers Discovery.
Gee,
cable TV.
Seems almost as if those two articles kind of go together.
Warner Brothers Discovery, as its cable TV business continues to shrink and viewership falls, has made targeted job cuts across the linear. Do you still have cable TV?
No,
you got rid of that yet.
No, I do not.
Everybody's cut the cord.
Yep.
The media conglomerate's linear TV business includes TNT, TBS, CNN, Food Network, Discovery, TLC, Cartoon Network, and Turner Classic Movies. The layoffs affect well under 100 employees. A source familiar with the situation told Variety. The source added that no particular location or network was impacted more than others. The cuts, like those of other pay TV networks affected by cord-cutting declines, were aimed at Warner Brothers Discovery's ongoing goal of operating more efficiently. Word of the layoffs in Warner Brothers Discovery Cable Group comes after Disney cuts its headcount by several hundred employees this week, affecting staffers in TV, film, and corporate and finance. So Disney's been laying off too.
Yeah, we were talking about that last week.
This year's annual stockholders meeting, Warner Brothers Discovery investors delivered a symbolic shot across the bow. Yeah, they mentioned that they voted down a non-binary advisor measure to approve a 2024 pay packages to Zaslav, who compensates in last year's total of $51.9 million. Yeah, they're not giving money until.
Nope.
Okay. This is the big one. I do want to make a shout out to Geek Flag for bringing this to us, and I know that Midnight's Edge was talking about this week too. Apparently, Disney claims they don't have the money as streaming label is dead.
Yeah.
Streaming label dead. Disney Plus may be racking up millions of new subscribers, but a recent behind-the-scenes comment from the Walt Disney Company is prompting a fresh scrutiny of its long-term streaming ambitions. As streaming platforms evolve, so too does Disney's internal messaging, and it's not all encouraging. According to BBC, the firm reported stronger than expected earnings in May, with overall revenue of $23.6 billion for the first 3 months of the year. That was 7% increase from the same period in 2024. Much of that growth, the report states, came from Disney Plus, which added over 1 million new subscribers. Variety added that operating profit in Disney streaming business jumped for the first 3 months of 2025 as Disney Plus unexpectedly added 1.4 million subscribers in that quarter. The platform now serves as 126 million global users as of May 2025. Want to offer anyone advice? If any of you want to own classic Disney movies on Blu-ray, check out eBay listings. You'll be surprised how low they are in price right now. I think a lot of families or whatever, they're junking their collections because they think we got it all on Disney Plus. Why do we need the physical media for? They're going to regret that someday. But if you want to pick it up now is the time. Variety added that operating profit in Disney streaming business jumped for the first 3 months of 2025. The heart of the platform franchise content and original series that made cornerstones of Disney Plus, particularly for titles such as Marvel and Lucasfilm, The Mandalorian helped define the platform in its early years, and in 2020, Andor concluded second season, closing the chapter on a critically praised series that explored the rebellion's roots. But the real news came not from the screen, but from behind the camera. This is the big one. In a revealing conversation with comicbook.com, Andor creator Tony Gilroy discussed the show's creative latitude and the financial tensions shaping its production. I mean, for Disney, this is a $650 million. This is $650 million for 24 episodes. I never took a note. We said F the Empire in the first season. They said, "Can you please not do that?" He recalled. Oh, I guess that was a line of dialogue. Okay.
Yes, exactly.
What are you doing?
I know. We said that at the same time. We said that at the time.
Why did they just go the Battlestar Galactica route, make new fake cuss words?
I know. They already have McClunky floating around out there.
In season 2, they said, "Streaming is dead. We don't have the money we had before, so we fought hard about money, but they never cleaned anything up. That freedom comes with responsibilities." Fans react to streaming is dead remark. Gilroy's comment about Disney's leadership declaring that streaming is dead ignited a conversation online. Reddit users debated whether the comment was an exaggeration or reflection of deeper changes in viewer habits and financial priorities. One user, Butterscotch Exactly. I'm sorry.
No, don't be sorry. I think that's meant to be funny.
That's a good name. Offered this take. It doesn't seem dead to me, but it does seem like it has come to a point where people cycle what services they use because there are so many and they keep raising prices. Yes, people can't afford to be subscribed to 20 different streaming services.
Right.
It's getting more expensive than cable. Running from.
And we all said this back when they first started these streaming wars. We said this is what's going to happen. People are going to choose, and they're all going to lose. But nobody listens. Listen,
Disney was one of the ones we got rid of just because they don't put out a lot of content we're interested in compared to all the others. Easier just to wrap it for a month every now and then. That's what we call churn back when we first remember when we first started streaming. We were talking about the streaming wars, and now I feel like the streaming wars are kind of ending with a bit of a whimper.
Yeah, well, they kind of ended back when we were talking about them. We predicted what was going to happen, and it has happened.
Because let's see, basically HBO Max, Warner Brothers is in a disaster because the cable thing is they were big with cable and they're losing that revenue stream. They lost the NBA.
Mm-hmm.
I assume HBO Max, they could always spin it was, well, we always had an online version of HBO, so that's just what this is. Or you could get it on cable, or you can subscribe through HBO Max. And now, apparently, according to Midnight's Edge, they are selling their content to other streamers like Netflix and other places.
Yep. Which they had predicted a long time ago they would start doing, and here you go.
So they're probably going to go the Sony route, but they're not in as good financial shape as Sony. They're not, even Paramount's in better financial shape than Warner's. That's why I don't know what the end game is for Warner's at this point. I'm not saying this with glee. There too many mistakes were made even before Zaslav showed up because I don't know. I mean, we have Superman coming out, right?
Oh yeah, that's going to be a blockbuster, right?
I'm
being sarcastic because I don't believe it will be.
We don't know. Maybe. Anyway, road ahead. Even as Disney Plus pushes forward with new content, the company's internal messaging suggests a more restrained view of the future. Yeah, they're not going to be spending $650 million on a streaming series. This will not happen.
Right.
While streaming continues to be central to Disney's media strategy, cost concerns and shifting audience behavior are prompting new realities behind the scenes. let's look back to the days of Star Trek: The Next Generation.
Okay.
Remember Star Trek: The Next Generation?
Yeah, we could almost do a good old days about it.
We should at some point. That might be a Friday stream topic, actually, but there's a lot to talk about there. But the point is that did a season of Star Trek: The Next Generation cost $650 million? Did it even cost half that?
Yeah, they were on tight budgets, and they had to find ways to.
And they made it work, didn't they?
They did.
You can
They
still
did.
watch the episodes today. They're classic fun, even though they're remastered. The remastered versions are retaining the original effects as close
Yep.
as they could. Because I was watching some episodes recently, and it still holds up. And they worked with what they got, and they made something special out of it.
Yeah.
And streaming needs to do the same. The trouble is, streaming is acting like you'll get these series that have, Avengers-style budgets, and they didn't even have physical releases ready for these series. They finally begrudgingly released like Andor on Blu-ray like last year, I think. The first
Well,
season.
because they are so cash poor, they need to make money somewhere. They want to be able to embargo this stuff and say you can't have it unless you subscribe to our service, and people are like, well, then we won't have it. We don't care that much.
The streaming war is over, and nobody won. We see the streaming platform stop being carried on stretchers to the digital mash unit. What's funny was I think Midnight Ed said somebody won. It was Sony, but they won by not taking part.
Yes, exactly right. I think that was someone on Midnight's Edge, probably Tom Connors.
Andre, yeah.
Yeah.
HBO Disney used to make $80 on VHS copies. Look at that.
Yeah.
On their classic animated movies, they made $60 DVDs and shows and movies, and how much they are charging for the streaming service. Well, it's just, I don't know. I mean, I'm trying to remember back. The DVDs, I don't think were that much. I mean, they were maybe like 25, I think. But it might depend on where you lived. I don't know. I'm trying to remember back in the day. Moving on to Split Fiction. This is a video game that came out a little while back. I don't know much about it. I know that that's a two-player game. One person plays as a science fiction writer, the other as a fantasy writer, and I guess they use their knowledge to traverse these worlds, I guess, to survive.
Interesting.
I guess. So
yeah.
I don't know. But the point is, Sydney Sweeney is apparently a producer on Split Fiction movie, lands at Amazon. Film adaptation of the hit video game Split Fiction, starring Sydney Sweeney and so she's starring it. Okay, directed by John M. Chu, has landed on Amazon MGM Studios. Variety has confirmed. As Variety first reported last month, along with the news of Sweeney's casting, the actress signed on to the project March 6th, the day the game launched. And Chu directing the script for the movie is being written by Deadpool and Wolverine screenwriters Rhett Reese and Paul Wernick, from developer Hazel Light Studios and publisher Electronic Arts. Split Fiction blends fantasy and science fiction, following a pair of authors, Mio and Zoe, who become trapped in the worlds they wrote. Written by director and Hazel Light Studio chief Joseph Fares and Sebastian Johansson. Split Fiction is a co-op adventure game featuring gameplay mechanics involving split-screen combat, platforming challenges, and differing abilities for each character. So I'm assuming that Sydney Sweeney is probably cast as Zoe or Mio.
Sounds right.
I wonder who's going to co-star with her. Who would you co-star with Sydney Sweeney?
No idea. If I'm looking
put Dakota Johnson in it again. No, I'm kidding. No, better still, the one who played Dora the Explorer, because she was.
No. I'm looking at these pictures and assuming that Sydney Sweeney would be the blonde girl on the right. Yes. How about that girl from the Wednesday?
Oh, yeah, they could cast her.
I'm forgetting her name, but
that's okay. It happens when you get older.
Because we're
brain's gonna be Swiss cheese in 10 years. Okay,
exactly right.
Say what her name is. Wednesday. She's also in the Scream movies. Jenny Ortega.
Yeah, Jennifer Ortega. Yeah, exactly. Or Jenna Ortega. That's what it is. Yeah, that's right.
Oh, yeah. Oh, you're right about that. The special editions did cost money, Jesse. Yes, you're right about that. I remember I paid more money for the Chronicles of Narnia DVD that Disney released. Remember when Disney actually released Chronicles of Narnia? Wow, how the company has done a 180.
Yeah. Exactly right. I did want to say, though, that
biggest Christian thinkers in history.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
this particular article really does underscore something I've been saying for a while, and that's that this girl really she's a producer on everything she does. So everything, she's got a vested interest in it, and she's making bank. So
she's probably a lot smarter than people would have us believe. Not that I ever thought she was dumb, but
well, yeah, I've seen nothing about her to imply that she wasn't very, very sharp. But yeah, she knows what she's doing, and she's making hay while the sun shines. She's going to do very well financially. She will be able to retire very comfortably.
And speaking of someone who will not be retiring very comfortably, Victor Frankenstein there. This is the new trailer for Frankenstein drop this week, which of course is not being done by Universal Studios, because why?
I don't know.
Universal, please.
I feel like they've... Well, now I'm starting to believe that they are putting all their focus into their epic universe, and whatever lore we're going to get out of them is going to come out of that.
Kind of like how Pirates of the Caribbean spinned off.
Exactly. I think that's exactly right.
So, but in the meantime, we do have a Netflix Frankenstein trailer that just got released. I don't know if you had a chance to see it. Looks very impressive, I'll say that. And it looks so impressive, people are complaining, why can't we get this released in theaters?
I know.
When it comes to producing exclusive movies, Netflix in a way cannot win. If the streamer makes a lousy movie, the project will be criticized for its quality. If the streamer makes what appears to be a fantastic movie, the company will be criticizing for not releasing the movie in theaters. Call it Roadhouse Paradox. Does that have to do with the Amazon Roadhouse remake, which I didn't see?
I think so. Yeah.
The sweet spot, it would seem, is to release movies that are perfectly watchable yet mediocre, which coincidentally Netflix does quite a bit. On Sunday, the streamer released the first teaser trailer for director Guillermo del Toro's longtime passion project take on Frankenstein. The prospect of yet another adaptation of Mary Shelley's classic novel might seem wearisome, as there have been nearly 200 filmic versions of the tale already, yet the trailer below looks absolutely stunning and hugely cinematic. The film stars Oscar Isaac as the Mad Doctor, Jacob Elordi as his monster, and Mia Goth as Victor's fiancée, and features a sumptuous visual of Victorian and Arctic imagery. This has led to fans to pretty much say the same thing. The most upvoted comments on YouTube contend the film, which while its global premiere on Netflix in November, should be given a theatrical release. Some samples, Guillermo del Toro is too good for Netflix. This needs a theater release. And I think we can all agree that this should be released in theaters. Guillermo's efforts deserve it. Guillermo del Toro is for theaters, not for Netflix. All that man makes is art, along with the kind of rather passive-aggressive "thank you, Netflix, for continuing to give Del Toro a platform. He deserves far greater." It's like they can't win. Okay, the irony, as the last comment hints at, is that Netflix did what other studios did, not by funding the project, and it's not like others didn't have a chance. This film is the Best Picture. This is a film that the Best Picture winner for 2017, Shape of Water, has apparently been on the record for saying would kill to make since 2007. Back in 2016, he elaborated his passion for the project, an interview with Den of Geek, and how he plans to include parts of the novel that are typically left out of other adaptations, such as its framing device, which includes the North Pole sequence. So in a sense, even though the story has been adapted countless times, moviegoers who have seen some of the most popular adaptations of the book might have never seen the real, at least whole story, because to this day, nobody has made the book, but the book became my Bible because what Mary Shelley wrote was the quintessential sense of isolation you have as a kid, he said. So Frankenstein to me is a pinnacle of everything, and part of me wants to do a version of it. Part of me has far more than 25 years chickened out of making it. So far, chickened out of making it. I dream I can make the greatest Frankenstein ever, but then if you make it, you've made it. Whether it's great or not, it's done. You cannot dream about it anymore. That's the tragedy of a filmmaker. You can dream of something, but once you've made it, you've made it. Unless you're George Lucas and keep fooling around with the movie after. I'm kidding. After you've made it. I'm sorry.
Or on a nicer note, that does sound very, very much like something I would expect David Lynch to say. You know,
I think it has that sensibility to it.
Yeah, well, he's one of these auteur directors too, much
Yeah.
like a David Lynch.
Yeah, yeah.
Frankenstein is an amazing book. Yes, I've read it. Very kind of dark and depressing in some aspects, though, but very important book.
It's another one of those ones that, just like we're doing on Live from Sparkwood in 21, as we look at the works of David Lynch, and I've pointed out how it really does help to view Twin Peaks, for example, in terms of the other works that David Lynch has done, so you kind of know his mind as a writer. You could do the exact same thing if you know the history and the story behind Mary Shelley, and you superimpose Frankenstein, the Modern Prometheus, onto it. You get a much richer understanding of it.
Yes. Oh, definitely. The Modern Prometheus was the subtitle of that, right?
Exactly right.
What I wanted to mention, though, I don't know why Netflix doesn't try doing these as Fathom events, or like Regal does their Fathom events, like
Sure.
they'll do like a one night only event. Why couldn't they do that for this, but nationwide? So you go there a couple nights of a day of the week, go there, maybe get a free poster of the movie as a freebie with it, because you might pay a little more for a Fathom event. You get to see it on the big screen. What do you think? I don't know.
I agree. Jesse Guajardo says he needs to make a badass Dracula movie, Mummy movie, and werewolf movie. Yeah, I think Universal really missed their opportunity with him. He wanted to do
Creature
from the Black Lagoon. He wasn't allowed to, so he just went and made The Shape of Water. And it's like, you guys don't know when you have a good thing knocking at your door,
Yeah. But the trailer looked good. It looked really creepy. I didn't get to see the monster too much, though, because, like, of course, you see where Victor's demonstrating something before the medical board, and it looks rather disturbing. Welcome, FKHC 2005, otherwise known as Tim. But the trailer looked good. Oscar Isaac looks great in it. I'll give it a look once it comes out. They had another movie too, which was about Edgar Allan Poe helping to solve a crime. It was called The Blue Eye. The guy who played Batman was in that as well. Christian Bale.
I was just gonna say, who hasn't played
Christian
Batman
Bale,
at this point?
the one who says,
"Jeez,"
with the really low, horrible
exactly.
voice, which was the one mistake in those movies. I know you'll probably say there was more mistakes, but I like the Dark.
There was a lot of mistakes going around, but you're not wrong.
Anyway, I will say Christian Bale's Bruce Wayne in that, though. I remember in The Dark Knight when there's a wonderful scene where you see like him going to like a secret compartment after the Joker's like holding the party hostage, and they're two of Bruce Wayne's rich friends are out there. Oh, look, Bruce Wayne, he has a safe room, and then he shuts the door behind him. He's like,
yeah,
because they thought he was running to a safe room, not that he was running to become Batman. You know what I mean?
Right.
They thought he was
Exactly.
out of the safe room. It was a neat little cover thing, like he was being a selfish rich
Right.
twit, basically. He couldn't make Creature from the Black Lagoon, so he made. Yeah, there was.
And he's not wrong. It was basically, yeah.
I have mixed feelings about The Shape of Water. Yeah, there was some weird stuff in that. There was one scene in it though where the guy's trying to buy a car and the guy says, "You're a man of the future," when he's going to buy his new car, and I just busted out laughing. I don't know why. I want to be a man of the future too, driving some cool automobile. Anyway,
Right.
Moving on. Anyway, Frankenstein looks interesting. Okay, here we got the dark story of the night under a Misc section. What is going on here? Jonathan Joss, King of the Hill actor who voiced John Redcorn. Remember John Redcorn,
Yes.
right?
King of the Hill. Right.
Yes. Perhaps a supposed father of a certain character on the show. I don't know. Anyway, dies in shooting at age 59. Jonathan Joss, an actor on King of the Hill, who voiced John Redcorn, died in a shooting on Sunday. San Antonio police confirmed to Variety. He was 59. San Antonio officers were dispatched to a shooting in progress at a home on Sunday night around 7 p.m. when they arrived at the scene, they found Josh near the road after he was shot multiple times. The officers attempted life-saving measures until medics arrived, but Josh was pronounced dead at the scene. The shooter fled in a vehicle, but was detained by officers a block away and booked for murder. The investigation is still ongoing. TMZ, which broke the news, reported that Josh was shot by a neighbor after a disagreement. In a statement on Josh's Facebook page, his husband, Tristan Kern de Gonzalez, said that Josh was murdered by someone who could not stand the sight of two men loving each other. My husband, Jonathan, Josh, and I were involved in a shooting while checking the mail at the site of our former home. Home was burned down over 2 years of threats from people in the area who repeatedly told us they would set it on fire. We reported those threats to law enforcement multiple times. Nothing was done, de Gonzalez wrote. Throughout that time, we were harassed regularly by individuals who made it clear that they did not accept our relationship. Much of the harassment was openly homophobic. When we returned to the site to check our mail, we discovered the skull of one of our dogs, and its heart is placed in clear view. This caused both of us severe emotional distress. We began yelling and crying in response to the pain of what we saw. While we were doing this, a man approached us. He started yelling violently. Hopefully I can read all this on YouTube. Okay, homophobic slurs at us. Then he raised a gun from his lap and fired. Jonathan and I had no weapons. We were not threatening anyone. We were grieving. We were standing side by side. When the man fired, Jonathan pushed me out of the way. He saved my life. Josh voiced John Redcorn from Season 2 throughout Season 13 of King of the Hill, and already recorded lines for the upcoming revival of the popular animated series. He'll be seen in Episode 2 of the show's upcoming Season 14 and probably more episodes beyond that. Josh took over the role from original actor Victor Aaron after he died in 1996 in a car accident. Josh was most recently seen in public on Friday during a King of the Hill reunion revival, which I think we're going to get into.
Yeah, we're going to get into that a little bit more in a bit.
Yeah. King of the Hill was created by Mike Judge and Greg Downs in 1997. On Fawkes, it ran until 2009 and aired more than 250 episodes. More than a decade later, revival of the show set to premiere on Hulu on August 4th. It was revealed last week. I remember with, he also appeared on shows like Tulsa King. He was on Tulsa King. I didn't know he was on Tulsa King. I wonder who he was on Tulsa King. He might have been one of the characters that got shot on that show. Alright, so moving on to This Is So Sad. Even if he was a bad neighbor, he didn't deserve it. Well, no, obviously not, yes.
Right.
I'm trying to figure out, that was disturbing with the dog.
Yeah.
If
if you are objective about this and paying attention to it, you start to go, I'm not so sure that this is the way it's being presented. This definitely sounds like one of those neighborhood disputes that gets out of hand. That I can see, but anything specific. If you're going to make those kinds of claims, we need to see the proof.
We need the receipts. Or at least
we haven't seen the proof.
Show it to the police so they can confirm.
Yeah.
It's almost reminded me of Unsolved Mysteries. When we would watch episodes of Unsolved Mysteries, and there would be all this weird stuff. You're like, well, did that happen? Did this happen? Like,
yeah, exactly.
The witnesses getting all this right. A few hours before, but this is 2 days before he was killed. Jonathan Joss crashed a King of the Hill panel. This is the next article. I'm keeping the same picture. A few hours before I was scheduled to moderate King of the Hill reunion revival panel last Friday at Austin's ATX TV Festival, I got to watch the first 2 episodes of the series' highly anticipated upcoming return. Most of the show's main characters are back, but have aged since we last saw them in 2009. Hank and Peggy are retired, and Bobby is now a successful 21-year-old sushi chef. That makes perfect sense, actually.
Yeah.
Bobby would be a sushi chef. I can see that. He probably makes a good living at it too, actually. So I'm not gonna pick on him. It was something that his dad probably wouldn't approve of, but he can't disapprove of it at the same time. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Hold on. So let's move up. Like, it's one of these things that's not really offensive, but is. Anyway, let me get into this. Sorry, I lost my place. Anyway, that's why I was commenting. Hold on. Sorry about that. Lost my spot. So anyway, for the love of Mike. Sorry. Sorry. Okay. Among the supporting characters in episode 2, we see neighbor Nancy Gribble, as well as the object of her not-so-secret love affair, John Redcorn, voiced by Jonathan Joss. Gardner and Joss weren't included on the ATX panel, as it was meant to be a small gathering led by the creators, Mike Judge, also the voice of Hank Hill and Boomhauer, and Greg Daniels. Also on stage were just 3 additional actors, Pamela Adlon, who plays Baba Hill, Toby Huss, who is taking over the role of Dale Gribble, and Lauren Tom, whose Connie had a prominent role in the new season. That's why Josh wasn't asked to be part of the panel, but apparently he was quite miffed about it. About 37 minutes in, I began to discuss the 2023 death of writer and star Johnny Hardwick, who had voiced the conspiracy theory-minded neighbor Dale since the show's beginning, and finding a replacement for Hardwick, Judge and Daniels decided to keep it in the family and tap Huss, who voiced Con and Cotton Hill in the show's original run, to take over as Dale. The fact that you guys trusted me to do this voice again is really humbling, Huss said. It's with a lot of love and respect for that guy, because he laid down a lot of wonderful goofball character. Character was a nut, but he had a lot of weird heart to him, and that's a credit to Johnny. We love our guy, Johnny. It's so sad he's not here. And then it says, at that moment, Josh leapt up from the audience and walked toward one of the microphones that have been set up for audience questions. Those mics weren't live, however, and we hadn't yet started that portion of the panel. There's Jonathan Josh, who plays John Redcorn, Daniel said, introducing him, and at first it appeared that Josh had interrupted the panel to contribute to Hardwick. You were talking about Johnny, and I wanted to say something about him, Josh said. But then Josh started to refer to what he was told as he walked over to the mic. This young man said, I couldn't stand over here, he said. I guess he didn't know that my land's already gone. He said the mic wasn't going to be used, and I'm an actor. I see a mic, I use it. I see it wrong, I make it right. I want to breathe. Josh referenced his San Antonio home burning down. Our house burned down 3 months ago, adding to the unusual moment. At the point, someone in the audience screamed out in Hank Hill's voice, damn it, Bobby, because I'm gay. He also quoted one of John Redcorn's songs, King of the Hill. There's a hole in my pocket where the money should go, before going on a few more tangents. At that point, the panel was frozen and the crowd was nervously laughing, not sure how to proceed. One of the panelists let out, to which Josh responded, what? You're doing the same thing, sir. Your mind's full of emotion and real. He then finally made his point about Hardwick. Johnny, he gave you guys a character because he is that character. He is that person. There was another pause, and Judge reintroduced Josh to the crowd. This is Jonathan Josh, voice of John Redcorn. At that point, Josh left the microphone and walked past the stage. It's unclear what happened after that, but Josh wasn't cut off by security or taken away at the moment. He walked away on his own accord. I think the creators were just trying to, they weren't necessarily trying to make a spectacle out of this. They weren't trying to, belittle him or anything, even though he wasn't supposed to be on the panel. Am I wrong here?
No, from the description you've just read, that's how I read it too. And I'm sorry, I see all this, and I can't help but think there's more going on with this guy than just somebody who didn't like that he was gay. I'm sorry, that's not what I'm seeing. I'm seeing a man that has some very serious mental illness. And
something's off about him, yeah.
Something's off, yeah. And it doesn't make it any less tragic, but let's try to get to the truth.
Let the police handle it. Is that show Hollywood Homicide still on TV? Was that the name of the show?
I don't know. I've never heard of that before.
It had.
It's not my thing. I don't know.
One of the actors who would always be in mob movies. He would always say, "Fame, ain't it a bitch?" He would start off saying it was all about actors who had murdered and stuff, or crimes or something. And yeah, give it time, we'll get a new episode of Unsolved Mysteries with this guy's death being the first. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah, of the new show. Yeah. But yeah, this is kind of messed up, though. This is messed up. I agree. I don't know. So I guess we'll share more as time goes on. Did you have anything more to add to this?
No. I just I feel like every time something happens, we have people with political bents that come out of the woodwork to use it to, gin up whatever their agenda is. And unfortunately, there's people that won't bother to follow it, that to find out that all of that was Fugazi.
Leave it to the police to investigate and come to their own conclusions on. All right.
Exactly.
And I'm sorry he's dead. It seemed like he was going through some troubles, and both, I guess, with his life and his maybe even his mental state. But
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry he's gone. I guess they'll be finding a replacement for his voice at some point too. But yeah, okay.
Just wait. They'll decide to replace him with AI.
Oh no, no. Sherry Redstone reveals she is undergoing treatment for thyroid cancer. Thank you.
This is kind of a huge thing because of all the other stuff that we've been talking about in relationship to her and business and whatnot. Look, markets fluctuate on the health of big investors.
Yeah, Sherry Redstone, who for months has been leading the charge to merge Paramount Global with David Ellis and Skydance Media, has at the same time been fighting a more personal battle with thyroid cancer. A spokesperson for the 71-year-old chair and controlling shareholder of Paramount Global confirmed the news in a statement to Deadline. Sherry Redstone was diagnosed with thyroid cancer earlier this spring. The statement read, "While it has been a challenging period, she is maintaining all professional and philanthropic activities throughout her treatment, which is ongoing. She and her family are grateful for her and her prognosis is excellent." The diagnosis throws yet another wrench into the process of selling Paramount. The company
See?
built into
That's what I was saying. Yeah.
the company built on the media empire in her late father's Summer Redstone after already broke saga. An $8 billion merger Skydance proposed last summer had seemed likely to close earlier this year, but President Donald Trump then took legal action against CBS News over its handling of the interview with Democratic President National nominee Kamala Harris. They really have to get these news anchors under control.
Yeah, and there's a number of articles that we just didn't get to this week where I definitely feel like that is happening.
Yeah.
People that are being suspended for going on political screeds, and the company is telling them no more of that. We're done with that.
Lawsuit now mediation and a slow burn by the Federal Communications review of the deal have put a protracted limbo state. Just a number of voices have expressed the first public doubts that it will be consummated. And let me see. But yeah, she's fighting thyroid cancer. Redstone has been running national amusements and serving as Paramount non-executive chairwoman. In sending the key role, she has overcome not only the bias toward male executives in the business, but also her own father's doubts. After a period of estrangement, the two eventually reconciled years before Summer Redstone died in 2020 at age 97. This is like a cable show,
Yeah.
Looking at.
It kind of, yeah, you're kind of right.
But so I guess things are up for grabs, because I guess what is this? It's like anything. Like if weakness is seen in a leader, people try to take advantage, or they try to renegotiate and things like that.
Real quick, I want to say hi to Mr. Duff 81. This place looks like a club full of bouncers. Who plays Minesweeper in the background? All I hear is clicking. Sorry, my friend. Going. Are you reading a screenplay? We are reading the article you see on the screen, and we're talking about it.
Yes. So anyway, here we are. Any thoughts?
Nope, not at all. I wish her the best. She is really the best chance that we have to see a resolution to the situation with Paramount and CBS, and if not her, I don't know who.
Let me see here, though. The women of The View might get replaced because the producers and Bob Iger have asked them to tone down the anti-Trump, and they have firmly refused. Okay, yeah.
Next article.
Yeah, let me get on to that. All right. Next article is, of course, Sydney Sweeney.
I think we blew it by not having her after when I was I thought I was pivoting when I was talking about her brilliant marketing, and
Right.
I thought we were going to go into this one. I guess I missed the opportunity. I can't have them always perfect.
Yeah, so Sydney Sweeney's bathwater infused soap, creating collaboration with men's hygiene brand Dr. Squatch, has become an internet sensation and a collector's item. The limited edition soap called Sydney Sweeney's Bathwater Bliss was released Friday, June 6th, and sold out within minutes. This was in minutes. The product was priced at $8, and only $5,000 were available for sale. However, many customers were met with checkout delays of over 4 hours. Hours after the soap bars were sold, people began selling them on resale platforms like eBay and StockX, listing them for hundreds of dollars. The highest sale on eBay at the press time was $725. That's a huge chunk of change. You could have gotten a Switch 2 for that. While others have paid between $400 and $600 for the soap. StockX tracked average resale prices at $251, and by Saturday afternoon, the bars were reselling for upwards of $590 each. Each bar of soap includes a certificate verifying the use of Sweeney's actual bathwater, which was reportedly taken from a tub she soaked in for Dr. Swatch campaign back in 2024. That means the water's been sitting there somewhere for the better part of a month. The medium grit soap contains shea butter, pine bark extract, exfoliating sand, and traces of Sweeney's bathwater. The company described the soap as having an earthy, forest-inspired scent featuring notes of pine, Douglas fir, and moss. Dr. Senior Vice President of Global Marketing John Luedecke called the concept bizarre and meant to get guys thinking more deeply about what they're putting on their bodies. Sweeney, who starred in the brand's ad last year, shared the announcement via Instagram. "You keep asking about my bathwater after Dr. Squatch ad, so we kept it," she wrote. "A very real, very limited edition soap made with my actual bathwater."
Wait a minute. That's where all this started. I had actually forgotten all about that.
Yeah, it was part of that campaign, yes.
I had forgotten they had footage of her, like, taking a bath and talking, doing an interview or whatnot in the bathtub. That actually makes all of this make a whole lot more sense.
Now there are some low IQ basement dwelling losers who would spend $700 for this. Well, maybe they're going to try to sell it for $1,400 to someone even lower IQ.
Yeah, see, that's what I was getting at too. I'm like, this is kind of marketing genius. It's ridiculous that there is a market for it, but it is the law of supply and demand, right?
Okay. Could you extract Sydney Sweeney's DNA from this? And then maybe perhaps make a clone of Sydney Sweeney from the DNA that was in her bathwater. But then it turns into a Sydney Sweeney that's made out of actual soap and like a talking large bar of soap. I'm just saying. I don't know. I'm thinking of an Outer Limits episode. I'm just saying. Not sure I would drink her bathwater. Don't even.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we've blue wrenches. I need you guys right now because we're getting hit, and you guys have the blue wrenches for a reason. I need you to do your jobs here.
Just exercise full discretion, please. All right, moving on to.
Yeah, this one was that Marc that sent this one?
Yeah, inside the true crime hunt for Marty McFly's missing guitar.
This one was a shock to me. I had no idea anything about this. And I was like, man, this is a good article.
Yeah. When so inside the true crime hunt for Marty McFly's missing guitar. When Michael J. Fawkes blazed through Chuck Berry's Johnny B. Good in the cinematic scene from Back to the Future, he was channeling all of his musical heroes. I sat down with the cinematographer and choreographer and said, I want to riff through all of my favorite guitarists. Fawkes said this week, preparing for his role as Marty McFly in the 1985 sci-fi classic, like doing Jimi Hendrix behind the head, Pete Townsend doing a windmill, and Eddie Van Halen hammer. We laid it all out there. When filming Wrap, the cherry red Gibson ES345 was returned to its owner, Norman Harris of Norman's Rare Guitars Emporium in Los Angeles. It was only when the filmmakers approached Harris to rent the same guitar for the 1989 sequel that he realized it was missing. Doc Krotzer, a filmmaker, has spent the last 6 years chasing whispers and rumors of the guitar's whereabouts, with Marc Agnesi, a senior Gibson director. Kreutzer is directing a documentary about the search titled Lost to the Future. This is like a true crime investigation, and we're treating it with that seriousness, he said, from his home in Los Angeles, but fortunately, it's much more inspirational and uplifting, and there aren't any dead bodies. A team of guitar experts and private investigators has been assembled, joined by members of the cast including Fawkes, Leah Thompson, and Christopher Lloyd, calling on the public to send tips to a dedicated website. It's somewhere lost in the space-time continuum, Fawkes said in a promotional video featuring the trio. We need that guitar. Some leads have been discounted, while others have thrown up fresh lines of inquiry expanding as far as Brazil, Canada, and Japan. Like Kreutzer, Agnesi was inspired to take up guitar after watching Fawkes perform Barry's classic rock and roll song as a child. When I start talking to guitar players of my generation, and Johnny B. Good, seen in our generation's Beatles on Ed Sullivan at the moment, Agnesi 42 said, referring to the band's American breakthrough appearance on the Ed Sullivan Show in 1964. That is when we all fell in love with rock and roll. Musicians ranging from John Mayer to Coldplay's Chris Martin cite the scene as inspiration for picking up a guitar for the first time. That character spoke to me and made me want to be a rock and roll singer and a time traveler, Fran Healy, the frontman of Travis, told the Times last year. Agnesi's fixation with finding the elusive instrument dates to 2009 when he began working on Norman's rare guitars. He spent untold hours searching through the hundreds of Gibson guitar cases stored in the expansive guitar shop's warehouse. Harris told Agnesi that he thought he had sold it to a friend who sold it to a woman who came back to a store years later and offered $1 million to sell it back, but that turned out to be the guitar used in the sequel. So they used a different guitar in the sequel when they recreated that scene. While the guitar serial number is unknown, it does have a unique feature that the filmmakers hope will confirm its authenticity: a solid inlay on the 12th fret, unlike the split ones that were standard on the ES-345 at the time it was made in 1960. Rock music is littered with tales of guitarists whose cherished instruments were swiped only to show up years later. Sir Paul McCartney was reunited last year with the Hofner bass guitar he used on Beatles hits like Love Me Do and She Loves You 51 years after it was stolen from the back of a van in London. McCartney's bandmate George Harrison had two of his prized guitars stolen, a 1965 Rickenbacker and a 1957 Les Paul nicknamed Lucy that was gifted him by Eric Clapton. Harrison traded two of his guitars to secure Lucy's return after alleging it had been kidnapped, and kept it until his death in 2001. 4 decades since the movie's release, the search will be featured in Kreutzer's upcoming documentary. The perfect ending, he said, would be to reunite Fawkes with the guitar, whether that's for 1 hour or forever. I'm impressed with that story.
Yeah, that's pretty good. I was like, man, that's really interesting.
And it's kind of weird because you often wonder where these things end up, and there's kind of a mystery around it, isn't there?
Yep, absolutely.
Okay. But I guess we'll know more when that documentary comes out.
Looking forward to it now. I mean, it's kind of a good little bit of marketing to talk about this, you know?
Yeah, exactly. All right. And yeah,
is that the last one?
That's it for Geeky Geezers.
There we go. That was an eventful stream, guys. I'm telling you, this is what happens as a channel grows. We need to keep an eye out for
and
the.
We have a right to block
trolls.
Whoever we want to block for whatever reason we choose fit. Leave the channel if you don't like it.
Yep. Well, we'll leave you.
Yes.
We'll leave you ourselves. That is not a problem.
Pretty lenient, but there is a certain.
But if you do have a blue wrench, guys, I give it to you because I'm hoping you are here to help me out with that kind of stuff.
Yes.
If as a community, we've got to pull together to weed out people like that.
Yes.
But I did tell you there is a channel that is they are on me. They are on me. There's a channel that's literally talking about my channel and ripping on it. I don't even go there. I only know about it because someone else told me about it. Because I have blocked that person on every format. There's some messed up, sick people out there.
Yeah. All right. So what we got going on this week?
Well, I have. No, not tonight. There is no reserved seats for deleted scenes tonight. Tomorrow's members' night at the movies. I'm sorry, I didn't get the poll up, so I'm just going to make it executive decision. We're going to watch the movie Vision Quest. I love that movie. I find it very inspirational, so I hope that's okay with you guys. You guys go ahead and if you are a member, I will have the link up tomorrow. Definitely hope to see you there. Let's see. Tuesday, live from Sparkwood 21, you guys know we are doing the second half of the Spice Diver edit of Dune, followed by the next episode of Twin Peaks. Of Blake 7. Twin Peaks is live from Sparkwood 21, followed by Blake 7. Wednesday, Netter, you've got something going on Wednesday?
Yeah, I'm supposed to be guesting on a podcaster show. I don't really have any real information to give. I know it's going to be the regular time, 9 Central. I don't know the topic. When I asked him what it was, he goes, "What do you want to talk about?" It's just like,
yeah. So once she has a link for you guys, keep an eye on Netter's community tab. You'll find it there.
Yep, and of course I'll be sharing it out on X once I get the information.
Cool.
Thursday, I'm trying to line up bringing James Reckert back for Thursday things. Obviously, we have technical issues to work through. If that pans out, we're gonna, try and do a very laser focused chat with him on Thursday on.
And what was funny is that in the green room he was fine. As soon as we went on air, suddenly he started having all these technical difficulties.
I'm not so sure. See, I looking back, I kind of realized that I wasn't hearing him, so I went live, and so I never really got a proper sound check from him. So I may have jumped the gun by going live when I did. So I will take responsibility for that just as much as anything else. That is Thursday, and then of course Friday. Friday, last call. Special guest. I think a lot of you guys know him. Stark of Iron. He is a heck of a podcaster. I guested on his channel last week. I think it was last week. Maybe it was the week before. But anyway, he'll be on with us on Friday. Which brings us to Saturday. Saturday, I know that Big Al presents Films with Friends. It is the George Harrison film that I always confuse with the Leslie Nielsen film, the Dracula one. Love at First Bite. That's what it is. Love at First Bite on Saturday. And that, of course, brings us back around to Geeky Geezers on Sunday. Looks like Deleted has a stream. Tornado 2005. Tim Roth was good. Sin's Corner, talking about it on Monday at 7 p.m. Eastern. That's 6 Central. And there is the link.
Oh, Jesse Guajardo said he hasn't seen Love at First Bite.
I haven't seen it, gosh, I think since it first came out. So it's going to be effectively like I'm seeing it for the first time.
Gotcha.
But I remember it being funny, but I can't remember any of the details. I just can't. But
cool.
There you go.
All right. So that wraps us up for tonight. Hope y'all have a good week, but tune in throughout the week to see us some more. All right?
All right, guys. Take care. See you on the next one.
Catch you later. Bye-bye.